talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines, it's just coming up to 2 minutes past 10. I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Good morning. Arne Slot will be having words with Dominic Szoboszlai, but has defended him from accusations of disrespect from Barnsley boss Conor Hourihane. Liverpool won 4-1 at Anfield. Barnsley's goal came from Szoboszlai's miscued back heel right in front of his keeper.
The fact of the matter is, he shouldn't have done it. In footballing terms, I mean, it was a ridiculous thing to do. I mean, if the kids did it under any level, you'd be telling them, lads, that's the one thing you don't do.
Ali McCoy calls it one of the worst mistakes he's seen in a long, long time. Now, we're hearing Steve Holland, Jonathan Woodgate and Johnny Evans will join new interim boss Michael Carrick at Man United. Their former keeper Ben Foster's told us Carrick's perfect for what the club need right now.
Because he is so calm and he's always got it under control, you never really know what he's thinking, and I think that carries a weight of respect, if you know what I mean. And I think him going into that dressing room, I think the lads will look up to him a little bit.
We're told Eric Dyer's been offered to West Ham, who are considering the loan move. Dyer's under contract at Monaco till 2028. Meanwhile, here's Alex Crook on the Lucas Paquetá situation.
So it looks like he's keen to go back to Brazil. And actually, it's been suggested to me this morning that West Ham officials are fearing he could even go on strike and refuse to play in the upcoming Premier League game this weekend against Spurs in order to try and force through this move.
Paquetá wants to move back to Flamengo. Conor Gallagher's having a medical at Spurs today. He's agreed a deal ahead of a possible move from Atletico Madrid. And the PGA Tour are trying to kill off LIV Golf by offering John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau and Cam Smith a chance to come back without serving bans. It's after Brooks Koepka's return to the US Tour 3 weeks after quitting LIV. There's more on all this at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Should we be worried about diesel disappearing from the pumps within 4 years? And tens of thousands of people in Kent and Sussex face another day without water. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With expert technicians in all our centres across the country, we'll keep your car's inbuilt safety tech in top condition this winter. Book today at quickfit.com.
Across Scotland and Northern Ireland, sunshine and blustery showers. Elsewhere, cloudy with spells of rain, heavy in places, a bit colder in the north.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So Liverpool eventually see off Barnsley in the FA Cup. Did last night epitomise Liverpool's season? Self-sabotage and a bit of a struggle. Meanwhile, should drug testing be expanded to referees? Also today, did Madrid player power end Xabi Alonso? Do Villa still lack the pull of the big six? Should the PGA welcome back Brooks Koepka? Can elite sport and alcohol actually mix? And ahead of another Carabao Cup semi-final, do these competitions remain the barometer you have to judge Eddie Howe by? It is Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Mr. Simon Jordan, good morning.
Good morning.
You're complaining that it's a bit wild out there. It's not too pleasant for you this morning.
Miserable day. I was talking to Kieran last night because I want to out him. He was cheering on Barnsley because I wanted to pick his brains on something. I'd been sent some magnesium tablets and wanted to see that the advice he'd given me on nutrition wasn't being compromised by someone else giving me some magnesium tablets. So he gave me, Dr. Kieran gave me his advice and then proceeded to cheer on Barnsley, saying, come on Barnsley, because at the time it was 2-1.
Yep.
There's a bias. When people talk about a bias,
yeah,
there you go. Just shows you it's alive and kicking in Mr. Keown.
It's alive and well. Just as well, you didn't betray his confidence as well with
I wanted to keep it to myself.
that text messaging between the two of you last night. Now we know, Simon, it will be announced formally later today. Michael Carrick will be named the new Manchester United interim boss.
Yep.
Working alongside him will be Jonathan Woodgate, Darren Fletcher, Johnny Evans, and one Steve Holland.
That's an interesting little Avengers assemble, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Carrick did a good job at Middlesbrough. It's interesting because when I was speaking to various people last week, there were various people that were finding out whether Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was in a frame, and Mike Phelan hadn't been contacted. So there was this thought process that Phelan and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer travelled together, as we've seen previously.
Sure.
So whether they have reacted to a public backlash or the perception of people criticising the fact this appointment hadn't worked previously, and you're going back without any innovation, or whether Carrick. Because I heard that Carrick wants to be a coach, wants to be a number two, doesn't want to be a front man.
Yeah.
But he clearly did a decent job at Middlesbrough. Clearly he's a sensible head. And it looks different. And that's, I think, one of the criticisms about the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Not against Ole, I have my own views on whether he's a good manager or not. But because it didn't look particularly, in any shape or form, like there was any thinking behind it. Oh, OK, that looks like a popular fit. Everyone likes him. He's unchallenging in people's minds. Well, and that might well be the challenge that Man United have to do now, which is keep on playing to an optic rather than getting an outcome.
Yeah.
Carrick, what will he do? We'll see. He's done, as I say, he's done a decent job at Middlesbrough, but
yeah,
Man United's a whole different ballgame.
I like Steve Holland, I must admit.
Does Ben White like him?
Go on.
Does Ben White like him? Should we get Ben White on the phone and ask what he thinks of Steve Holland? Because neither the one fell out.
Right.
Neither the one fell out with him. I don't know.
Was that the fallout?
He's part of an underworld. Look, Gareth Southgate did a fabulous job in terms of getting England back to the level that they should have been at in the first place, and that all the people that went before should hold their heads in shame about the lack of achievements. But we did fall short, and we were a mentality that people criticised about not having big game mentality when it came across. We didn't beat anybody that we couldn't beat.
No, you didn't.
We, being England, yes.
Yeah.
But we were there to do it. You were sitting at home on your sofas in Glasgow watching it.
Yeah, having a national holiday.
Having a national holiday.
Yeah.
But so Holland formed part of that. So how great is that? I don't know. But it's a Fletcher. What's he done in the last two games? I don't know. I mean, obviously he's put together a team of people that are going to try and get a tune out of this ragtag and bobtail outfit that's over at Man United right now.
Just while we're on a kind of theme of breaking news, this will interest you. I don't know if you heard on your way in. Moses Atoma has sustained an injury in camp for his fight with Jermaine Franklin, which was scheduled for the 24th of January. Due to this, we're now told by Queensberry and Frank's organisation, the whole Magnificent Seven show has been postponed and has been moved to a new date on the 28th of March at the Co-op Live in Manchester. So Moses Atoma sustained an injury. One thing about that, Simon,
it wasn't a Magnificent Seven then, was it? It was a Magnificent One.
That's right.
The Magnificent Six ain't so magnificent.
But I mean, at this point in the proceedings, had it been the all clear, had it been the green light for January the 24th, when it comes to sparring, it's serious stuff. I'm amazed that we don't hear more instances of this. Close to fight night, the boxers involved picking up an injury of sorts, because they're not playing about now.
Well, they are professionals, and it is part of the process that you go through to prepare yourself for a fight.
Yeah.
So they know what they can and can't do. They won't be exposing themselves to undue risk. They'll be exposing themselves to the necessary preparation for a fight. Disappointing, because obviously we want to see Moses move on. Time waits for no man. He's young, but there's a world in front of him. And I think that most people felt, despite the durability of Jermaine Franklin, despite the fact that he arguably beat Dillian White when Dillian White was on his game and put up a good account of himself against Anthony Joshua, I think most people were expecting business as usual with Moses Atoma. He was going to go in there, not get the rounds, knock Jermaine Franklin out, and make it an irresistible charge towards an opportunity. But we'll wait another couple of months, and there'll be other good fights coming up. Yeah,
just need to wait a bit before we see Moses in action again. He's a good lad, Moses. Met him a number of times now.
He's a nice boy.
Absolutely. The polar opposite to what he's like in the ring. Outside of it, very calm.
A lot of them are, though, aren't they?
Very pleasant individual. Just in the passing, Simon, 7 times world snooker champion, Stephen Henry. I always think of him, the young Stephen Henry, angelic face. 57 today.
Is he?
He's getting on a bit.
I did up front with him. I did an up front with him, and I really enjoyed his company. He's a really interesting character.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, like one of these sports that I grew up watching snooker, and of course everyone watched that Dennis Taylor, Steve Davis final in whatever year it was, 1985.
Yeah.
And you saw this next generation of snooker players, post Steve Davis and all that went with him, and Stephen Hendry was that.
Right.
And he dominated the sport. Obviously, he was a jock, so I had a little bit less interest in him.
Yeah.
But
when you think of Scottish people, you think world champion.
Yeah, you think of certain things, like losing and not attending tournaments.
There you
and
go.
Of that nature.
No,
but
you
Stephen
were
Hendry
so
did.
well there.
Stephen Hendry did attend tournaments. He won them, and he was a very interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah, I remember watching it. It was very good. Stephen Hendry, happy birthday to you. Last night, 57. Liverpool got there in the end. They put Barnsley out of the FA Cup. They won by 4-1. But I do wonder if last night epitomises Liverpool's season, as I said in the introduction to today's show. Self-sabotage, a bit of a struggle. The reason for that, the story of the game centred around the brilliance, but yet the bizarre of Dominic Szoboszlai, who scored a great opener before attempting to back heel in front of his own goalkeeper in his own 6-yard box, leading to Barnsley getting back into the game. They took full advantage of it and scored. His botched back heel, was it a moment of madness or arrogance and disrespect? Now, the reason I say that was because Conor Hourihane, the Barnsley head coach, none too happy with what he saw from Szoboszlai. But having said that, neither was Slot.
I have my opinion about that, which I'm definitely going to share with him. And it's not the first time, and I'm talking generally, that we are 2-0 up. There's no problems in the game, and then we concede a sloppy or an easy goal. But this one stands definitely out, even for us, when it is about conceding an easy and sloppy goal.
I was a little bit disappointed with their player, if I'm honest. I thought it was a bit disrespectful. I don't think he does that against Chelsea. Don't think he does that against Arsenal. Don't think he does that in the Champions League game. Unbelievable little feeling and buzz for Adam, obviously. But a little bit of a lack of respect from their players' point of view.
I'm not sure if it was disrespectful. I'm not sure if I'd go that far.
It's like someone taking a Panenka, is it? Is that disrespectful?
That's right.
I remember Jeff Whiting at Sunderland taking a Panenka against my Palace in the semi-final of the playoffs at home, in Sunderland missing it. And I didn't sit there think how disrespectful that was. I was thinking how fortuitous it was for us.
Yeah.
But players do certain things, don't they? At certain moments in time, they might be right. They might be right that ultimately he might not have done it in the intensity of battle against a Chelsea or an Arsenal with all that goes with that. But he did, and they were 2-0 up, and it got brought back to 2-1, and they won 4-1.
That's right.
And he'll get told off by his manager, and that'll be the end of it.
Well, I thought Slot, it was more sloppy, I think, than disrespectful. Slot was saying, I don't think you do that in an FA Cup game or League Cup, a friendly game or even a training session. It's a weird choice. I have my own opinion on it, and I'll definitely share it with him. That's quite a good way to handle it, isn't it? Hey, come here, you. What were you up to there?
It's a bit casual, isn't it? It's a bit clever and a bit unnecessary, but the direction of travel wasn't affected that much, and it gives someone to talk. He's been a very good player for them. And interestingly, Danny Murphy talks about him in a way that he is a fabulous player, but I don't want to betray any confidences, but I think he thinks the kid's got tickets on himself. But then top players do have that.
Yeah.
It's about how they express themselves. On the whole, he's been a revelation for Liverpool. He's made one faux pas. I doubt he'll do it again. Move on.
Sure. The reward for getting through to the fourth round, Liverpool take on Brighton at home. That'll be interesting. Okay. Brighton, of course, who put Manchester United out on Sunday. Interesting one for Liam Rossigna, because his Chelsea go to Hull City, Simon. I like the sound of that.
Lane for him, yeah.
Aston Villa take on Newcastle United. That's another standout tie. Yeah. And conquerors of your Crystal Palace, Macclesfield, take on Brentford. Macclesfield, who you very respectfully said would probably get pumped in the next round.
Why did I say it? Why did I say it?
That's exactly what you said.
Why did I say it? I said it because I was listening to one of the Macclesfield players starting to suggest that Palace didn't fancy it, and these are the reasons why. And I don't believe that Mark Gahey would have turned around in front of another player and said, "No, I don't fancy it today." He might have turned around and said, "Don't like the look at that pitch," which most Premier League players would have said.
Okay.
So I didn't like that. So that's why I kind of wished a pumping upon them.
Okay.
Which they will duly get from Brentford.
Good luck to Macclesfield, but I think you're going to have it tough against Keith Andrews' Brentford. They're going very well under Keith Andrews, maybe much to the surprise of one Martin O'Neill. I'm not sure. Anyway, it is Tuesday morning. This is Tuesday, January the 13th, and we have a lot to get through this morning. Next up, we're off to España, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco. Is where the trade goes. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, Tuesday, January the 13th. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. Thanks, even at this early stage, for the incredible deluge of messages we get in the morning from you. It's great to hear from you. Keep it coming. I'll mention as many as I can throughout the morning. I wonder what your take is on this. Xabi Alonso, a Liverpool favourite, Liverpool legend, but now looking for a job after departing Real Madrid, following just 7 months in charge of the football club. He was a high-profile appointment going there after 18 months in charge of Bayer Leverkusen, where he oversaw their first Bundesliga title in 2023-24 season, an unbeaten domestic season. But after this 7-month spell at Real Madrid, he is now out of a job. Strange that. I mean, they'd won 24 of the 34 games in charge, including 10 of his first 11 La Liga matches. But before Christmas, they had won 3 and 9 and are 4 points crucially behind Barcelona, and they lost to Barcelona in the Super Cup there at the weekend. So, what has happened, which has led to Alonso being shown the door by Florentino Perez? Spanish football expert, good friend of ours, Graham Hunter, joins us live in the show. Graham, good morning. So from hero to zero, why has it ended in such fashion for one of Europe's most sought-after coaches?
James, 3 things to say. First of all, I'm glad to learn from Simon you can use the word pumped on talkSPORT in the morning. That's always useful for your vocabulary.
There you go.
Secondly, it wasn't me who pushed him out. And thirdly, he's probably looking for the Aberdeen job. Look, I know you have it in your mind that potentially player power has done for him. That's one of the narratives that is bouncing around Europe. And it's factual that the way in which Vinicius reacted during the victory in the League Classico when he was substituted, where he yelled out in hearing of the cameras, the live cameras, this is the reason, it's always me being substituted, this is the reason I'm leaving the club. Okay, move on to Sunday night when they play an odd game. They play 5 at the back. That's very unusual for Real Madrid, but they make it a big contest. In the last minutes, 3-2 down, both Carreras and Asensio have absolutely gaping open goal chances to score and miss, to go to penalties. Mbappe insists in direct defiance to Xabi Alonso that the players do not do a guard of honour for Barcelona. That's a terrible image, but be clear, everybody, be absolutely clear. There are issues beyond the results, that is the style of play. Xabi Alonso not particularly wanting to manage upwards and kowtow to the big boss, Florentino Perez. And a mad issue in that Xabi Alonso wanted his own fitness coach who he brought from Leverkusen, who'd been a fitness coach at Barcelona, at New York City. He insisted on having him. The guy you'll remember, Antonio Pintus, working at Chelsea, working at Real Madrid, winning the title at Chelsea, winning the title at Real Madrid, had been pushed to the side. Florentino Perez, in the last day of Xabi Alonso's reign, said, you can stay on, but Pintus must take over the fitness coaching. Alonso said, no, I'm staying with my man. And therefore, accumulation of all the things that Florentino didn't like about Alonso left him saying, you're out.
Wow. It's quite a sequence of events, Graham, isn't it, when you explain it like that? And now Alvaro Arbeloa, former Liverpool player, has been promoted from his role as reserve team head coach to replace Alonso. Graham, I'm interested in where you think Xabi Alonso might end up. Do you think there's a place for him here in the Premier League? Do you think if it gets ropey for Arne Slot, further down the line he could go in there? Even Manchester United, who are appointing Carrick today, but on an interim basis.
Xabi Alonso's reputation within football, when you and Simon talk, you talk about strategy, you talk about club intelligence, you talk about visionary decisions. You're very critical of knee-jerk decisions and people who try and fix chairs live on air. Things like that really get your goat. In the football industry, Xabi Alonso is going to be regarded as the same guy who was a success at Real Sociedad B, who worked in the Real Madrid youth system successfully, and who led Leverkusen to their first Bundesliga title. The football industry already knows what the problems at Real Madrid are. The football industry know that he inherited a bunch of players who are sated, trophy sated, and who have had 2 really short pre-seasons, and that accounts for how they're playing. So if you're a decision maker, maybe not at Manchester United, because you'll do well to sign a Liverpool legend, but at Liverpool or at the other clubs where jobs are definitely going to come up in the summer, Xabi Alonso will be amongst the first 2 or 3 names in the list. His articulacy, his intelligence, his multilingual status, his track record, and his very good strategic management about training, which, in my opinion, he hasn't been able to use to its full extent at Real Madrid, means he'll be a candidate. Of course he will.
Is there?
Yes, the Premier League. Yes, Simon.
Graham, is there a maturity about him? Because what we're seeing in recent weeks, what I consider to be a lack of maturity amongst certain managers. I think Maresca was immature in his response to certain things that were said to him about his medical team and had a turn and resigned from his job at Chelsea. Amarim's had his own little tantrums about what he was or isn't being titled as, albeit I suspect there's more to it. Given the fact that you've said that he doesn't like potentially managing up, maybe just in this instance he doesn't like managing up, is there a maturity about Alonso that brings a question? Because people will look at that, they will say, well, hang on a second, this was a plum job with some of the best players, and I know the challenges of Madrid always have the same challenges, but Zidane worked in that environment with less of a win ratio, and you've got a guy that's been there for 7 months who produced a fabulous team in Germany, and now he's out the door after being a Real Madrid legend himself.
The straight answer is no. I would choose a different adjective.
Go on.
It's not about maturity. Xabi Alonso, throughout his life, as the son of a famous footballer, as the local hero, the local boy made good at Real Sociedad, as the legend of that Champions League final at Liverpool, as a title winner and a Mourinho lieutenant at Madrid, and then as a Pep Guardiola chosen footballer and title winner at Bayern Munich, has never had to kowtow to anybody.
Right.
And he is a very individualistic character. You might say, so if I'm backing your idea, you might say that he's unwilling to bend a little bit. He's less than flexible. But then I would agree, I would say so is Arteta, so is Pep Guardiola. If you choose maturity, that's where we're going to divide a little bit, and maybe I can persuade you that what you've got is a guy who's unused to ever in his life as a player or a manager having to manage upwards. And Simon, I'll close by saying, where else in the world, where else do you have to manage upwards as much as Real Madrid? He'll never have a situation comparable to managing upwards at Real Madrid again in his entire coaching career, because Florentino Perez is the most individualistic, probably the most successful, and certainly the most demanding man in world football.
Is it going to be Barcelona's season then, Graham? The way it's going, I mean, they won there at the weekend over Real Madrid. Is it going to be their season, and Real Madrid are going to have to make chase for the rest of it?
If you're talking to the punters who want to lay their pocket money on it, then likely, yes, they're the most consistent team. They've got a deep squad. They've got players still to come back from injury. They're well managed by Hansi Flick. They've got momentum. I think they've won one trophy defending the Super Cup. I think they won't win the Champions League, Barcelona, but I think that they're favourites to win La Liga. And I think that the counter case to that is that Real Madrid are taking a huge risk in Arbeloa. Arbeloa is a fiery, combative, relatively inexperienced coach who's done well in the youth system, but he's now going up to manage superstars who are disaffected and who are used to having their way. If he pulls this off, if he does the opposite of what you said and he wins La Liga, it will be one of the most astonishing achievements in the history of Real Madrid. You said, will Barcelona win the title? The bet is yes.
Can I just go back, pick up again, Graham, about the management upwards kind of things? And I take on board all the points that you've made. But given the fact that the ownership models of football clubs, significant football clubs, have now massively changed, managing in Germany with the 50+1 rule has a different dynamic to it towards managing in other clubs. If he was to land at Chelsea, Egbali's a strong thinker. If he lands at a football club with a big ownership model, if it was even a Marinakis at Nottingham Forest, not that he'd go there, he is going to deal with very strong characters that expect people to know where their space is. Give them a lot of latitude, give them a lot of leg room, give them a lot of rope, but there is a perspective that in world football, at the big clubs, certainly in the Premier League, he's going to have to manage up.
Let me make the comparison I think that will answer your question. I'm close friends with Luis Enrique Martinez. Before he took over at Paris Saint-Germain, he had a very successful interview with Clearlake at Cobham for the Chelsea job. And he said, I'm not taking that job. He saw exactly what Maresca has suffered. And I know because he told us in the making of the documentary that we had with him, he saw interfering owners, 62 directors of football, there's a problem coming. Alonso would not choose Chelsea. Stand on me. If I'm wrong, get me back on the show and humiliate me when Alonso's the new Chelsea manager. He won't choose that, Simon, because he sees it like you see it. Honestly, he would view it with, I'm not going there. I have choices. It's a seller's market when you're Xabi Alonso, in my opinion, Simon. And therefore, I think he will go to a club where now, having had his fingers burned at the club he loves, the club he wanted to be in charge of, he will choose differently next time, in my opinion.
Brilliant. Graham, as always, love your content, love your contribution. Graham Hunter with us live this morning, the day after Xabi Alonso was shown the door by Real Madrid, and in goes Arbeloa to take over from him. At the moment, Barcelona lead the way. A lot to get through this morning. We're back the other side after 10:30.
From hero to zero in just a few minutes, Arne Slot has had to defend Dominic Szoboszlai after Liverpool won 4-1 at Anfield in the end, but Szoboszlai almost erased memory of his stunning opening goal after he miscued a back heel which allowed Barnsley to score.
He shouldn't have done it. I mean, it was a ridiculous thing to do. I mean, if the kids did it under any level, you'd be telling them, no, lads, that's the one thing you don't do.
Ali McCoist calls it one of the worst mistakes he's seen in a long time. Slot will be having words. Liverpool host Brighton in the FA Cup fourth round. Meanwhile, the Giant Killers must now face the sting of the Bees. Macclesfield have drawn Brentford at home, although their owner would have preferred an away tie. But Rob Smethurst has told talkSPORT the leasing.com stadium does give Macclesfield an edge.
On an AstroTurf pitch, they're not used to it. They come to our ground. It's small compared to what they're used to. The changing rooms are falling apart.
Yeah.
So they're not used to this kind of environment.
Elsewhere, we understand Eric Dyer has been offered to West Ham on loan. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I don't think it's gone much further than them being sounded out as to whether they would take Dyer this window, but he's obviously proven in the Premier League. He brings that leadership, which I think is badly lacking in the West Ham dressing room at the moment.
There's more on that one at talksport.com.
Tuesday morning. Thanks to our Spanish football expert, Graham Hunter. He's somebody I've known for years. Very, very solid broadcaster and journalist.
Very forthright, isn't he?
There's Stuart. A good message from him. He was telling us, Graham was telling us that Luis Enrique didn't fancy going into Chelsea because maybe the model of ownership there. Says Stuart this morning, Simon silenced by Graham Hunter there about the Chelsea ownership being interfering, not the narrative that Simon spills out every day.
See, I didn't agree with that, but we didn't have a window of time to push back against Graham. Graham has a view, I could hear it in his voice, that he believes that managers have a certain level of entitlement. I have a different view, having been an owner, that there's enough room for managers to operate in without necessarily being disrespectful or reaching beyond what there should be their natural habitat. And I think Maresca did that. So my view is that Graham would have been wrong in that, and if I had a longer time to speak to him about it, I would have challenged him more about it. I had a minute. When I asked him that, I had a minute. Otherwise, I would have said to him, I don't agree with you. So whatever his name is.
But why, Stuart? But why wouldn't somebody like Luis Enrique embrace an opportunity like Chelsea?
Because some jobs, I admire it. That some people can be very clear in there, and it has to be a fit. When you're employing somebody in every walk of life, it has to work both ways. It has to work for the manager, and it has to work for the employer. And there has to be an open discussion, a frank exchange of views, so that people see what they really are.
Yeah.
People go to interviews and go for jobs, and they sell themselves on the basis of what they want people to see rather than what they really are.
It's got to be give and take between the owner and the manager.
And by the way, Enrique's had his moments.
So the manager gives and the owner takes?
No.
That's the bottom line, really.
Well, the owner gives you a job, and the manager takes it. Yeah. Right, and all that goes with it. So with that in mind, what you do is I think it's a great situation at an interview where you have a clear exchange of views, and maybe the model didn't fit. Yeah. Luis Enrique has had his own challenges in life. Because he's hit the sweet spot with PSG, doesn't mean that Luis Enrique's right on everything he does. But at the stage in the project, any owner, if Luis Enrique was at the right stage for the Chelsea project and it was right for everybody, you'd let him have his head. You'd let even the most interfering owners would go, I tell you what, if I haven't got to do this and you can do it, fantastic, yeah. I'm winning anyway.
Xabi Alonso had a 71.4% win rate
74% in the league
at Real Madrid, and yet is binned. So he's available now. I mean, how many Premier League boardrooms do you think might have had their interest piqued by this Alonso news?
But they're scared of the fella.
Is he the kind of guy you would love to work with?
No, if he's a pain in the arse, no. But ultimately, if he's a really good manager and everyone understands their parameters and I can let him do what he wants and he can manage it properly, of course, his job in Germany was phenomenal. Second season, he couldn't back it up. But the first season, he was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And to go through a season, people talking about, yesterday you mentioned about Harry Kane, or someone mentioned about Harry Kane's winning everything. He didn't in the first season. The first season he went there, they did the first time Bayern Munich had won the Bundesliga for 11 years. So he did fabulously. He was a perfect fit for scale and size and heritage at Madrid. Perez is a box of tricks. All Madrid owners are a box of tricks. Madrid get the kind of owners and players that they deserve. Look at the way they behave. They don't want to turn up to the Ballon d'Or because they don't think they're going to get an award, or they don't think they should go to America because they get more than £35 million a game and they don't want to play in a World Club Championship because they're bigger than that. Look at the way that they behave at times. Look at the way their players behave. We've heard a lot of support for Vinicius Jr., and rightly so, about the abuse that he's taken. But here's a player throwing his weight around because he doesn't like the coach and wants to leave the club and not going to sign him. So there's a flip side to everything. It's not easy. But you look at it and go, where does he go? The scale. He'd go to Liverpool if Slot fails, but Slot's not going to fail. Slot's had a great first season. He's having a little bit of a sabbatical in his second season, like Jurgen Klopp did when he won the Premier League, and people still lionise him. So give Slot a little bit of latitude here. And then you go into where's he go? Man United. Graham makes the point. Can you get a Liverpool legend to manage Man United? Maybe you can. I don't know. You've got Michael Owen to play for Man United once upon a time, so it can be done. So can you get him into Man United? Where else did he go? Aston Villa? Is that the scale of club? With due respect to Unai Emery, is still there?
1, 2, 3 messages coming in from Tottenham fans. What about Alonso for us?
Well, I would like them to go to Tottenham because I'd like these owners that are saying things about Daniel Levy that I think are unjust and unfair, not just because I like Daniel, but because I think it's unfair what they've said and the way they've painted the picture, to get their comeuppance. Because if you stick Xabi Alonso in there, he won't be having any of their nonsense about signing players like Conor Gallagher. He'll want the best players. He'll want the biggest name players. And if you think Conte was a pain in the backside for Daniel Levy, wait until Xabi Alonso got in the door based upon what we've seen at Real Madrid, if what Graham has told us is right.
Yeah. I don't see a problem with the likes of Xabi Alonso having done what he did with Liverpool, the famous night that they won, of course, against AC Milan, and they won under Benitez and they won the Champions League.
Why are you writing that Slot's P45?
But no. But I'm thinking Alonso, and could Omar Barada do worse? Could Sir Jim do worse?
Yes.
Is he not the exact type of profile?
Possibly.
that Manchester United,
Possibly.
one of the biggest clubs in the world, should be looking at now, because Xabi Alonso,
Yes, of course.
no doubt, is going to be one of the most sought after.
Yes, of course. And if he is as good as a football manager as I think he may well be, I mean, he's not just got a 71% win rate ad infinitum, he's got a 74% win rate in the league.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing for him is Barcelona have got an 82% win rate. And so the two teams that dominate that league are dominating that league. But what we've seen from him up to date, with, Sociedad B was Sociedad B. He won 40% of the games, there's nothing to write home about. But his performances in Germany were phenomenal. And his performances in Madrid, his style of play issue. I don't know. I watched his team in Germany. I thought they were quite an attractive team to watch.
Oh, for sure.
So to suggest it's a style of play issue, it's a Madrid issue.
Yeah.
The Madrileños are arrogant, and the way that they behave at times is not particularly endearing. But that's arguably the reasons why they're the biggest club in the world, because they have tickets on themselves, and perhaps rightly so.
Because of Graham Hunter giving us such good content as usual, and Simon reacting to it, slightly got behind a bit, but I want to squeeze this in at this moment.
Really?
I'm going to put the question in. Should anti-doping and drug testing be expanded to officialdom? The PGMO, the L has gone now apparently,
Is it?
The refereeing body is reviewing its drug testing policy after, and you've probably guessed why, former referee David Coote admitted to using cocaine over a 6-year period. The PGMO, along with UEFA and FIFA, have previously followed guidance of WADA, an international testing program which does not apply to match officials in sport. Is that about to change, Simon, or should it change because of what we've seen with Coote? Coote's persistent drug use was outlined at Nottingham Crown Court last week. He was given a 9-month sentence, suspended for 2 years after pleading guilty to making an indecent image of a child.
Yeah.
But it's become apparent that Coote's sentence outlined that he'd actively been using cocaine between 2019 and 2025. So in other words...
So why don't we have a policy for everybody in a senior position in every walk of life? Because what we have a policy for drug testing is not for recreational drugs. That is by definition something that's get caught in it. What you're testing for in athletics, in sport, in boxing is PEDs, because you're advancing somebody's capabilities either in a boxing ring or in a sporting environment that detracts from the opposition. What somebody taking drugs does is recreational drugs isn't the same thing if it's a referee. So if you're going to argue for a referee to be tested for drugs, you could argue in any walk of life, in any society, any person of a senior position should be tested for drugs. Why would it be any different?
I agree, but in this instance, is there now surely a need for referees to be held to the same standards as the athletes that they oversee?
But again, what was the fundamental purpose of recreational or testing for drugs in sports? It wasn't to test really for recreational drugs. It was to test for performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they damage the opposition, they detract from the opposition, they advance the individual at the consequence of someone else. Ben Johnson in the Olympics. In this instance, what we're testing for is recreational drugs because...
Which could be performance-altering.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. But then you could have that in any walk of life, couldn't you? You could have it in any senior position. Somebody who was a senior position of a media outlet could be tested as a result of his employment. I don't know whether people do these days. But the fact of the matter is that the comparison between what's happening, if we're going to draw a comparison between what's happening between the protagonists of the sport rather than the referee, I think that's flawed because it's not the same thing. You're not judging them by the same standards. The characterization of it is, do we look at a David Coote and say, as an outlier, as an appalling set of behaviours?
Yes.
Is he the reasons why you need to drug test referees?
Should he be?
Well,
he did this over a 6-year period.
He's the exception, not the rule.
But is he? We don't know that.
I mean,
we won't know that until we get.
I'm not offended.
Regular drug testing.
People, I'm not in the business of recreational drugs myself, so I don't have a view on what people do or don't do and how it affects their performance, right? But people could turn around and say, well, excessive drinking, what are we going to do? Are we going to test referees because they drink too much during the course of the season? No, listen, maybe I'm just being a contrarian for the sake of it. I don't have a problem with them being tested. If they themselves don't have a problem with them being tested, but I don't like the characterisation of saying if it's good for the athletes, then it should be good for the referees.
Yeah.
That characterisation to me is flawed because the only reason the athletes are predominantly being tested is because they don't want to have an enhancement opportunity. Most recreational drugs detract. So there's a different set of standards because you need your referees to be more alert. So if there's a reason behind it, which is ultimately not for the appalling behaviour of David Coote and the terrible choices that he made in his life and the subsequent events that unfolded about the way he conducts his private life, but from his professional point of view, if we suggest that is something that needs to be done because the benchmark is we cannot have our referees anything other than on top form, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But not because the players have been tested.
Well, Cook worked as a Premier League referee between 2018 and 2024. It's now come to light that he was cautioned by the police for possession of the Class A drug during searches of his home in February last year. That hadn't come out previously. It is Tuesday morning. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
It is indeed that time. We're going to get an update on the transfer window, and we're going to do that with Intuit QuickBooks, and we're going to do that with one of the top men here at talkSPORT, talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, who's working day and night at the moment, it being the month of January, transfers and all of that. Alex Crook joins us live in the show. Alex, good morning to you, mate, and I know you are busy, and I know you're all over the Conor Gallagher for Spurs story. Tell me more.
Good morning. Yeah, 20 days still to go in the window, and I get the impression that there's a lot of deals just bubbling under the surface. Conor Gallagher, I think, was always going to be a talking point coming into this window because we know that he's been keen to get back to the Premier League. I think to catch the eye of Thomas Tuchel, he feels he's got more chance of doing that if he's playing week in, week out in the Premier League than over in Spain with Atletico Madrid. As you say, Tottenham is his destination. Even up until lunchtime yesterday, Aston Villa felt like they were in the box seat for Conor Gallagher. Then we spoke with you guys about the fact that Rodrigo Bentancur at Tottenham is going to be out for a significant period of time. That's forced Tottenham into the market. They accelerated their interest in Conor Gallagher. They got an agreement with Atletico Madrid for a permanent signing in this window, 40 million euros the fee. And that's quite crucial, Jim, because Aston Villa, due to PSR restraints, could only offer a loan deal with an option stroke obligation to buy. Atleti preferred a permanent transfer. Gallagher, on his part, is open to the move to Tottenham. He's agreed a 5.5-year contract. The medical will take place today, and he should be registered in time to make his debut in what is a massive game for Thomas Frank, a London derby against West Ham at the weekend. I think this is a good signing for Tottenham. He's only, 25, 26, Conor Gallagher, proven in the Premier League. I know Diego Simeone absolutely loved him over in Spain, didn't really want him to go. So I think this is the Tottenham owners showing the ambition they promised when Daniel Levy left the club.
So what do you think, Simon? Alex has quite expertly outlined where we're at with it. Are Spurs fans out there this morning quite rightly thinking, well, this is more like it?
It's okay, isn't it? I mean, a lot of noise was made about him departing from Chelsea because it was one of theirs and come out of their youth setup and had gone somewhere else and was, big name players were being signed at Big Dough and Conor Gallagher was being shoved out the door. I think he's okay. I think he did a fabulous time at Palace when they got a real lift from his energy. Do I think he's a world beater? No. Do I think he makes Spurs slightly better? Marginally. Are these the sort of signings that are going to catapult Spurs to the heights that they so desperately require? No. Would it have been a better move for him to go and play at Villa? Probably. And these are the challenges that Unai Emery's got, which is the frustrations of the fact that they've got 116 million worth of losses in 23, 50 million losses worth of 24. So they're getting really caught up in PSR. They've already done a deal with UEFA on the punishments they got as a result of sanctions. So Villa have got difficulties because they can't compete. This is the unfairness of it all.
Yeah.
They can't. Yeah. They've got a manager and a capability of being at that level, and I think it'd have been better off at potentially Villa.
Well, if they didn't have those difficulties that you're outlining, and it was a level playing field, if you like,
they could really knock on some doors.
Do you think its destination might be Villa Park as opposed to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he would have. Because they're in ascendancy. Villa are challenging for being inside the top four. Tottenham are challenging to keep their manager.
Yeah. So this could get done sooner or later then, Alex, as far as you're hearing.
Yeah, I would expect it to be done very quickly, Jim. In fact, there's a story in my transfer notebook today that he's already said his goodbyes to Atletico Madrid teammates and coaching staff, not in person, but via quite a classy message, thanking them for welcoming him to the football club, obviously helping him settle in new surroundings. So I think the aim for Tottenham is to make sure he can be part of that squad for what could be quite an emotionally charged game against West Ham. We know there's no love lost between the two clubs. I think both managers go into that fixture at the weekend under quite a bit of pressure.
Going to give us a brief update, if you will, Alex, on where we're at with Mark Gahey and Manchester City?
Yeah, I certainly think this is one that could develop over the final days and weeks of the transfer window. We know that his contract at Palace is up in the summer. We know that he won't be signing a new deal. We know that Oliver Glasner blocked a departure to Liverpool on deadline day when you and I were on air together with Danny Murphy, quite a disconsolate Danny Murphy in the summer. I don't think Glasner has so much power now, bearing in mind that his own contract is up in the summer. And I think if you're Steve Parish, you're going to turn around and say, well, we're not going to listen to you because you might not be here come the end of the season either. Manchester City in need of defensive reinforcements. They've lost a couple of their key players to injury. And I would anticipate some kind of bid from Manchester City to try and sign Mark Gahey this window.
Okay, Gahey to Manchester City.
Whilst I don't think he's as good a player, Gahey's going. And the only caveat to that is he knows that if he goes in the summer, it's a free transfer, he can get more money in his contract. So how they square that circle, I don't know. But for Palace's point of view, he's going. So the best thing you can do is try and get 25 million quid out of Man City and Nathan Ake. If you can get that deal done, then you've got a centre-half coming back in. He's not as good as Gehi, but it creates a solution to a problem that you've created yourselves, because you're going to need to get money. You don't spend money, so you're going to need to get money.
Yeah.
So clearly the position is they've got billionaires that own this football club that don't want to spend their money, so they're going to let Gehi go for nothing, and the manager's going as well.
Sure. The interim is replacing the interim. Michael Carrick is going to be named later on today, Alex, as you know. I know you've been all over this at Manchester United. Woodgate, Fletcher, Evans and now Steve Holland all involved in terms of backroom staff, right?
Yeah, I think a couple of interesting points here. One, that Darren Fletcher, who obviously has been the caretaker manager for the past 2 games, was offered a role as part of Michael Carrick's backroom staff. It's our understanding at talkSPORT he's declined that role to return to his job as under-18s coach, and I'd imagine that he feels maybe there's more longevity in terms of his career at Old Trafford by doing that. But Steve Holland, I think, is a really interesting one. It's not a surprise to me that Jonathan Woodgate has come in. I've been talking about that for the last 72 hours or so, that obviously Carrick and Woodgate are very close. They work together at Middlesbrough. Steve Holland is not part of the group, not someone that Michael Carrick has a professional relationship with before, but obviously someone he's aware of. We all know how highly regarded he was amongst the England setup, and I think that could be quite a shrewd move, because if you remember, Jim, and you know this well, when Eddie Howe went into Newcastle, he took all his old pals with him, the likes of Jason Tyndall and Stephen Purchase, but he kept on Graham Jones as a sort of outside voice to his usual group, and I think that's quite a sensible move that Carrick has done that. Somebody who he doesn't necessarily work with on a day-to-day basis, but someone who's going to give a different point of opinion, perhaps.
And it's understood that Sir Alex recommended Carrick over Solskjaer. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, certainly that's what's been reported by our colleague Ben Jacobs, and I guess that tells you the sway that Sir Alex Ferguson still has at the football club. I thought Roy Keane's comments were a little bit classless, talking about Sir Alex hanging around like a bad smell, but I accept the principle of it. I think United need to move on from their past. Obviously, the glorious history should be celebrated, but they do seem like a club stuck in the past. I'm not sure that Sir Alex Ferguson really should be having a massive say on a decision as to who is in the dugout.
What's your take on that, Simon? Should Sir Alex still have the ear of the board?
No, I don't think so. I think that time has passed now. I think that I'm surprised, given the fact that there was such a big song and dance, that he has got the ear of the board, because didn't they fire him from an ambassadorial role and take away his £2 million a year? I thought that was the story that was being peddled out, that situation. So I'm surprised that he does. I didn't think that. I mean, listen, the terminologies that Roy Keane used was hanging around like a bad smell. I'm not entirely sure why he brought David Gill into the conversation, because David Gill is not hanging around like a bad smell, creating impressions upon the existing board. So listen, he's got access to grind with Alex Ferguson. Whether people think it's classless or not, or it's just a terminology that explains the fact that Alex Ferguson is still having an influence when possibly 12 years after the event, that time that ship has sailed.
Okay, Alex, before you leave us, Lucas Paquetá, West Ham, or maybe no longer West Ham, sometime soon. What are you hearing?
Well, we know they've rejected a bid, West Ham, from Flamengo. I think that was about £35 million for Lucas Paquetá. As I told you guys yesterday, he wants out of London Stadium. He wants to go back to his homeland. And it's interesting, he didn't play against QPR in the FA Cup at the weekend, after I'm told reacting angrily to the fact that West Ham have rejected this bid from Flamengo. And there is a suggestion that he may not play against Tottenham this weekend. So effectively, he's trying to force an exit from West Ham. Nuno Espirito Santo wants to keep him. He believes he's one of the few match winners that West Ham have on their books. Interestingly, the Brazilian transfer window doesn't close until the 2nd of March. So there is a possibility that West Ham could keep him for a few weeks, and then he goes when that window closes in March. I'm told he has made it clear to David Sullivan and the board that he doesn't intend to be a West Ham player for the start of next season.
What do you make of this, Simon?
Well, I'm assuming we're going to see, like I've said repeatedly, this big claim against the FA and the footballing authorities for these ridiculously offensive, spurious claims that were levied against him, which held his career up for 18 months. And I don't understand why there hasn't been that, because ultimately West Ham suffered, didn't they?
Yeah.
West Ham suffered alongside him with this player and the consequences of the charges that were brought against him. Well, look, West Ham have got to hold their line. I mean, I'm not going to cry in a bowl for David Sullivan about the consequences of the situations he finds himself in. But no, I don't think it's admirable, is it? I mean, I hate this idea that a transfer window in Brazil is still open, and that still means that you have to adhere to it. Once our transfer window's closed,
that should be it.
That should be it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whose other transfer windows are open. It should be that you can't buy and sell players from an English club post the transfer window closing, whatever time of year that is, January or August.
So the rest of them should align with the Premier League here.
No, they should do what they want internally.
Yeah.
But this is talking about trading across regions. And you've got a transfer window, you haven't.
Yeah. Alex, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Alex Crook throughout the week is with us, bringing us an update on what the goings on in the transfer market, and there are many. That was thanks to Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks and you will find out more.
Transfer window update on talkSPORT with Intuit QuickBooks. Tackle your self-assessment with Intuit QuickBooks. Search QuickBooks to find out more.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With the headlines at 3 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. We're told Darren Fletcher's turned down a role in Michael Carrick's backroom staff at Man United. His assistants will be Steve Holland, Jonathan Woodgate and Johnny Evans. Here's former United keeper Ben Foster on Carrick's appointment as Man United interim.
I think he's perfect for what they need right now. Whether it's long term, I think that remains to be seen. The next sort of 4 months of the season will tell us all we need to know. But for now, he's just nice and calm, Michael.
Carrick's first game in charge will be the Manchester Derby, live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. We understand Eric Dyer's been offered to West Ham on loan from Monaco. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I don't think it's gone much further than them being sounded out as to whether they would take Dyer this window, but he's obviously proven in the Premier League he brings that leadership, which I think is badly lacking in the West Ham dressing room at the moment.
Meanwhile, there are concerns West Ham's Lucas Paquetá could go on strike as he attempts to force a permanent move back to Flamengo in Brazil. Conor Gallagher's having a medical at Spurs today. That's out of a potential £36.5 million move. All the latest transfer news at talksport.com. Now, where next for Xabi Alonso after his Real Madrid sacking? He's expressed a desire to work at Liverpool one day. Spanish football expert Graham Hunt has told White and Jordan Alonso would be a candidate for any Premier League club.
His articulacy, his intelligence, his multilingual status, his track record, and his very good strategic management about training, which, in my opinion, he hasn't been able to use to its full extent at Real Madrid.
And Moses Atauma's heavyweight fight against Jermaine Franklin's been postponed till March 28th. Atauma's suffered an injury in training. Loads more content on talkSPORT's Boxing YouTube.
talkSPORT News.
We're told diesel will not disappear from the pumps within 4 years, despite reports to the contrary. And South East Water's issued a fresh apology, with around 25,000 customers still cut off. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Across most of Scotland and Northern Ireland, sunshine and blustery showers. Elsewhere, cloudy with spells of rain, some of it heavy in places, and a bit colder in the north.
Good morning, everybody. Just gone 11 o'clock, 6 minutes past it, 11 o'clock this Tuesday morning. Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. It seems like everybody's getting in touch with the show this morning. Not least this fella, what's his name? Simon, who's a big Arsenal fan, Simon. Hopefully this message reaches you. Well, it has, Simon. As an Arsenal fan, I found it really annoying with your flippant remark aimed at Martin Keown and the listeners who are Arsenal fans. That was yesterday. Just before midday, you christened Arsenal Set Piece FC. Yes, Arsenal have the most set-piece goals, but for your information, here's a list of the current set-piece goals that have been scored in the Premier League, and he goes on to give me a list.
Much free time.
Too
much free time.
A fair bit of free time, Simon, but listen, thanks for the message. My other point is you're quite disrespectful to Martin Keown. When you ask him a question, Jim, you interrupt him halfway through. It's a bit of a feeding frenzy. You and Simon get involved. He's an Arsenal invincible. You introduce him as such. Maybe you should take that on board. Maybe. Are we a bit heavy on Martin?
No, Martin can take care of himself.
I think so. But listen, Simon, thank you for that. And also, it seems everybody's listening this morning, even though their other half maybe doesn't want them to listen to talkSPORT all the time. So Rod Stewart's on his way up to London. Penny, most of the time, lets him listen. Some of the time, says you listen to talkSPORT too much. But so Rod is listening on his way up to London at this very moment. And you saw him, did you not, in something on the BBC over the weekend that you liked?
I was flicking through on a Saturday evening with scratching my backside with nothing to do. And I saw this sort of feature on Rod Stewart on the BBC and all these appearances on the BBC from Top of the Pops through to Russell Harty. And as much as I find him wagging his finger at me, sending these silly bloody text messages and signing off as Sir Rod Stewart, slightly irksome, he is a remarkable talent, isn't he? I mean, you can see the body of his work and the quality of the performer, and you can see why he's achieved the things he has, because he is a remarkable talent.
There you go, Sir Rod.
That's it. That'll do.
That was Simon Jordan. Complimenting
you.
Now
gargle on some Domestos.
This morning at 8 minutes past 11 on Tuesday, the 13th of January. A lot to get through. At this precise moment in time, we make no apologies for straying into the world of golf, because Brooks Koepka has rejoined the PGA Tour after quitting LIV Golf. Do you remember when he joined up? There was a whole list of high-profile golfers who said yes to the huge money on offer from Saudi-based LIV Golf. I remember at the time what he said at his original press conference.
What I've had to go through the last 2 years on my knees, the pain, the rehab, all this stuff, you realize, I need a little bit more time off. I'll be the first one to say it. It's not it's not been an easy last couple of years, and I think having a little more breaks, a little more time at home to make sure I'm 100% before I go play an event, I don't feel like I'm forced to play right away. And that was a big thing for me. And talking to guys, everybody that came back that I spoke to, DJ, my brother, Phil, everybody was I had nothing but great things to say. So, take it from their word and the schedule, and there's a lot of things that went into my decision. I'm sure these guys the same thing.
So that was back in 2022 when he said yes to the millions on offer from LIV Golf. Now he's rejoining the PGA Tour after quitting LIV Golf. So what does it tell us? Rupert Bell, talkSPORT's golf correspondent, joins us live. Rupert, good morning. After being a deserter, should Brooks Koepka be welcomed back?
Well, this is the debate, and maybe not all the players on the PGA Tour will be welcoming him back with open arms, because some might say that he's getting preferential treatment. Now, the figures that he's got to give to start off 5 million to charity. Well, that's easy enough. You can write that off as tax deductible anyway. But there are some other meaty fines that could cost up to 50 million in earnings. But given what he signed on for and everything, it doesn't feel like it's going to dent his pocket too much, even though the figures are quite staggering. Remember, he signed on for a lot of money. He has won on the tour, on the LIV Golf Tour, but he always did seem to cut a slightly distant figure on the tour. And I can see why he's gone back. He talks about, I want to win majors. That's what gets him going. And perhaps now he feels the best way to try and be competitive in majors is to be back on the PGA Tour, where obviously he feels now the competition is stronger than perhaps it is on the LIV Golf Tour.
What's the reaction from LIV in regards to this? I mean, I'm not hugely concerned, but it's an interesting perspective because they've been used. He's gone there for what suited him, for a timeline that suits him, and now he's going back. And as you rightly say, on the way out of the golf course, the money that he's got to pay them back as some degree of charitable contribution falls off his pocket on the way out. What's LIV's response to that fact that they're now downgraded as second-class citizens, good enough to pay him a bunch of money, but not good enough to stay with?
Well, and I think this is going to be a slight cause for concern for LIV, because they are trying hard they've moved now to 72-hole tournaments, trying to make themselves sort of fall into line with the rest of the golfing calendar. But if they should lose John Ram, Bryson DeChambeau and Cameron Smith, now that really will put the cat amongst the pigeons, as it were, for LIV Golf, because Bryson DeChambeau is probably the biggest star in world golf, given through his YouTube and the attention that he draws. And the PGA Tour would like them back. And the way they've framed it is anyone who's won a major, I think, from 2022 or has won the flagship PGA Tour championship is entitled to come back. And that actually means those three golfers I've just alluded to could come back. It's not so easy if you're just a sort of ordinary player. So there is the sort of within the PGA Tour, there will be, I think, some dissenting voices. But for LIV Golf, it's not a good look when you have golfers like that. And bearing in mind, on the DP World Tour, this week, we see LIV golfers teeing it up. Next week in Abu Dhabi, there will be LIV golfers teeing it up. So it's a bit of a mess at the moment as to who's paying what fines are here. It's a sort of, I don't know, it just feels at the moment a bit of a mess. And LIV Golf might, in the end, although they're trumpeting all their TV deals, they've just done one with TNT in this country, at the moment, it feels like they are the poor relations, even though they may have more money than anybody else.
It's so interesting to see how it's got the direction in which it has beaten LIV in the process, don't you think?
Well, it's these three golfers, it's the big names. That's the ones they want because they need it for sponsorship. Bryson DeChambeau, he moves the dial. Whether, and he is box office. John Rahm is box office. And there are talk that he's not entirely happy with the LIV format and maybe is as they say, possibly regretting ever signing with LIV Golf, because there's Ryder Cup considerations, there's all these things, what's going on behind the scenes. It probably feels like the only people who are ultimately going to make money are all the lawyers out there, because that seems to be what it's coming down to. LIV Golf are punching, trying to put on a positive spin on it all, but if they should lose those three golfers, then it really will have an impact, because you have to say, looking through the list of players on LIV, they're not actually the ones that are going to make you watch it, even though it's the team event format. Does that work? I'm not sure at the moment. So that's one of the reasons why they've gone to 72 holes.
I was just going to ask you then, Rupert, DeChambeau, Ram and Cam Smith, I think I'm right. They've got until February the 2nd to decide what they're going to do. And it's make your mind up time. Do they go back to the PGA or do they stay with LIV? What do you think? Do you think they're going to follow suit with Koepka?
Well, I'm sure there's some thought processes going on. It's just before their first season, LIV's first season opening event in Riyadh. So that's why one of the deadlines, we know that Brooks Koepka will be teeing it up at the Farmers Invitational, I think it is, next month. So it is interesting. A little bit of pressure is being put on those three, because Cam Smith's form has fallen off a cliff since he's joined. Bryson DeChambeau, well, he is what he is. And John Rahm, of course, still wants to one of the best golfers in the world. So for those three, it is an interesting time for them. Do they keep loyal to LIV with all the money they've earned, or do they think the grass may be greener once again back on the PGA Tour?
Rupert Bell, thank you very much indeed. talkSPORT's golf correspondent. What do you think about the look of this, Simon? Oh, yeah, LIV Golf. Well, the millions on offer. You bet I'll join them. Yeah, and now they're lining up to come back.
Yeah, but everybody would have done the same thing that had an opportunity. There's only a few exceptions, and those that sit on the
But not everybody did.
Yeah, but the bulk of them did.
Rory didn't.
Yeah, Rory didn't. No, Rory was one of the few exceptions. He made some overtures that he was going to at one point, no, didn't he? He climbed back from his position of absolute confected outrage to a slight position of potential cocking an eye towards it. I'm surprised LIV have allowed them to escape so easily, because ultimately they've been utilised and used. It's interesting to see how much the PGA Tour has suffered as a result of their absence, and whether they feel that there's more deterrent by saying, no, you're done. You guys, you get a one-hit deal, it's one strike and you're out. And that would deter people in the future from taking this opportunity, because the next generation of talent will potentially be lured again by LIV.
Yeah.
And LIV will perhaps tighten up their contracts and make it not so easy for people to come over and just take a big bag of money and then depart when it suits them.
Yeah.
So what we've got is a levelling out of the playing field. This destruction of golf that people forecast, and this absolute degradation of the tours and the orthodoxy of golf didn't happen, did it?
No, but Rupert's saying it's a mess, and it is a mess.
Well, who's it a mess to?
Well, the whole scene's a bit of a mess.
Why is it a mess? Why is it a mess?
Do they stay with LIV or do they go back?
Well,
because they want to be seen to win the majors.
The golfing putt. That's not really a mess, is it? It's a landscape. Yeah. But what we saw was what we believed was the destruction of the conventional system of golfing, and what we saw was the major players still playing in the majors. What we saw was players that were playing in the Ryder Cup. And what we saw is not a degradation of the entire structure of golf. And these players are now coming back from LIV, back to the conventional thinking of the existing tours.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's a mess. It's not an ideal landscape, but disruption comes in every environment.
Sure.
And we didn't see the doom that was forecast 2 years ago when LIV started creating some mayhem, and Greg, the Australian golfer, Greg Norman was making all the noise because he hates all the tours.
I like the way when you said Rory cocked an eye to it at one stage. You were right about that, but I noticed you looked to your left there with your left eye, but you carried on looking at me with your right eye, which is quite a skill.
Good skill, isn't it?
It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Eight o'clock kickoff tonight. It's live on talkSPORT. The Carabao Cup semi-final, first leg. Newcastle against Manchester City. Newcastle United, of course, Simon. You'll need no reminding. The holders of the Carabao Cup.
Oh yeah.
As I say, it's live on talkSPORT. But when it comes down to it, is this trophy pretty much as good as it's going to get for Newcastle this season? This is Eddie going into this.
They're very important to us, as you say, because the Premier League is an incredible competition and incredibly tough to win, and we're not in that position currently. So then we have to look at what else we can win. And of course the Carabao Cup, after last year, the feeling that gave everybody connected with the club, a long wait for silverware. I think I don't have to say how important last year was to us, and now we're looking for that same again, and we're looking at every opportunity we can take. That was why it's so important to get through against Bournemouth. Of course the Champions League is a totally different thing, but we're loving that competition and we want to stay in it as long as we can. We'll take that step by step. So yeah, we're looking for silverware if we can, and whatever opportunity we have, we'll try and grab it.
Was Eddie Howe going into this one? When it comes to Eddie and the big bobbles argument, you've had to reassess that, haven't you, really, because of PSR?
No. I've had to I said from the outset that I didn't think he'd lead them to the Holy Grail. That was for different reasons. The reasons were I think that he would be that sort of manager that would be the building of the blocks, the stability of a football club that's got a new ownership, a bit like other managers were before Man City really started to get their engines going. I think he's better than that, but I think the circumstances have changed. I think Eddie Howe could manage an elite football club, could manage his country, could manage most football clubs that have got the budgets to be successful. He doesn't have the budget to be successful at Newcastle.
Just out of interest, what changed your mind specifically?
The performances he put up at Newcastle, meeting him. Rather than having a third-hand point of view, the time I spent with him doing up front, the fact that he wanted to do it, the performances that he's put in, the team that he's created, and the job that he's done. So I think all of those, if I didn't change my opinion on something, I'd be a bloody fool because I have new information.
You do get swayed a bit when you get in front of somebody and that somebody changes your mind.
Because you get new information. You get new information. But I don't think
new information as opposed to them putting you right.
Well, a bit of that too. But Eddie didn't put me right in anything. He just basically answers the questions that he wanted to answer, and the ones he didn't want to answer, he didn't answer. But his performance at Newcastle would have to give people like me that had a condemnatory view of the fact that his teams couldn't defend when Bournemouth got relegated, that he didn't have the stomach to go and manage Celtic. Those were the observations that I had of him. When he went to Newcastle, those observations dropped away because he's managing a big football club. He's achieved what I consider to be quite remarkable things at Newcastle. Yeah. He's built a team worth watching that a lot of people consider to be their second team. I didn't jump in line with the loving of them winning the League Cup last year because I'm not a Newcastle fan. I didn't think I had to. But I am an admirer of his. So with that in mind, I had new information to process. On other people, I don't change my mind. Who have I changed my mind on? I always said that I thought the Chelsea ownership was capable. I was always saying, prior to any experiences I might have had with Daniel Finkelstein or Egbert or Egbali or whoever else, or Todd Bowley in Qatar, that these guys aren't billionaires for a reason.
Yeah.
Are billionaires for a reason, sorry.
I mean, you had an admiration for what the likes of Egbali
and they would overcome PSR. They've got clear thinking.
But now Egbali's the greatest thing since
I think he's a very compelling individual because I think he's got very clear thinking. Right. Whether you agree with me or whether you agree with what's currently happening at Chelsea or whether you agree with the model, some of the thinking that's going on at Chelsea about the way that they sign players, the contracts that they put them on, is the clearest thinking I've ever seen from a football club owner. And I've listened to all of them, whether it be David Gill or whether it be other people of significant influence over the years, Daniel, whatever else. I think he's got clarity of thought. Now, a lot of people don't like him, they don't agree with me. That's fine. You haven't got to agree with me. It's my experience. Now, as far as Eddie Howe's concerned, going back to the original conversation, can he win anything bigger? How? How can he win anything bigger? How can he go toe for toe with Liverpool Manchester City and Arsenal.
Which gets me back to my original point. Is this trophy
yes
pretty much as good as it's going to get?
Tragically, I think likely. I hope not. I mean, obviously, they're still in the FA Cup, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And that's a bigger trophy. And obviously, last year there was not quite the same celebrations in this room for Palace winning it. But if they win the FA Cup, that's another competition they could win. The League Cup has always been the runt of the litter of domestic competitions. Let's have it right. It was a competition created in the 1960s for the big teams that got knocked out of the FA Cup. That's what it was there for. It's always been derided. It's the EFL's competition. It's always been diminished. And in fact, it's quite a meaningful competition. It was unkindly called by people who I would not care to comment on the Worthless Cup when it was, ultimately the Worthington Cup. It's been called the Milk Cup. It's been called the Rumbelows Cup. It's the Carabao Cup. It doesn't have the same currency, does it? But, you know it and I know it.
But you see, that was the point that you missed because it meant so much to Newcastle fans.
I know that, but I'm not a
thing.
Newcastle fan.
It doesn't
so
matter.
I didn't have to sit there with this confected media crap of all suddenly going, oh, it's so wonderful. Wonderful, fantastic. Can we move on, please? They won a League Cup. Didn't have the same outpouring of delight and emotion towards Crystal Palace that had never won anything.
And we were on the morning that Crystal Palace fans joined us live.
I was
and
in
were
this room.
crying.
I was in this room with you and
after
Keown.
winning the FA Cup.
I was in this room with you and Keown when you ganged up on me, and Keown tried to be clever about the fact you've got nothing in your heart. Your heart's as black as a stone because you don't want to give all the love to Newcastle. No, I don't. I'm not a Newcastle fan. Well done. Move on.
Yeah.
Right? And it is the least of the cup. Now, going back to the original question, rather than the ridicule of me and my lack of investment in Newcastle's
We can't do
achievements,
enough of that.
I like Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe is capable of achieving something. The circumstances at Newcastle prohibit him from doing it.
I've news for you.
If Eddie Howe,
like you.
that's fine. If Eddie Howe was managing Manchester City, Eddie Howe would achieve some of the things that previous Man City managers have achieved with the kind of money they've had.
Yeah.
He would achieve the things that Pellegrini achieved. He'd achieve the things that Mancini had achieved. It might be a reach to say he goes as far as Guardiola, but he would be winning things bigger than the League Cup.
I tell you what, it'd be hats off to Eddie if Newcastle elbow Manchester City out the road and get to the final.
Yeah.
And win it.
It would be.
It'd be super hats off.
Can reclaim the Carabao Cup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. It's an 8
have
o'clock
another
kickoff tonight, and it's live on talkSPORT. Eddie Howe, of course, Simon now is a big fan, apparently these days, as he is of Bedad Egbali. It's 11:30. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. GambleAware.org.
It's that time. Matt Gibson joins us from BetMGM, and we're going to look at who's doing what in the world of sport, in the world of football, and cast our net fairly wide this morning because we're going to have a look at the African Cup of Nations semi-finals. We'll do that in a second. Matt, good morning to you. An unconvincing performance, but Liverpool got the result. So what about the FA Cup outrights? How are they looking?
Yeah, morning, fellas. We know the teams in the hat. And we know who they're going to play. With regards to Liverpool, again, just speaking to a couple of Liverpool fans this morning, relying on kind of 3 worldy goals to get past Barnsley. I'm not quite sure what Szoboszlai was thinking with the back heel. I think Conor Hourihan's right. It is disrespectful, and he wouldn't have done that in a Premier League game for what it's worth. But Liverpool are into the next round. They've got a tricky one, I think, against Brighton up next. Probably reflective in the markets that they're quite a chunky price at 6-1. Man City favourable draw against Salford or Swindon. That one against Salford, if they get past Swindon, could be a really decent clash. They're top of the market at 7-2. Arsenal just in behind at 15-4. Should get past Wigan. It's funny how these things work out, isn't it? Liam Rosenior back to Hull City, where he was, in my opinion, pretty unfairly treated when he was Hull manager, and then Villa and Newcastle play each other. But if we're looking at the teams sort of in the top third of the betting, gents, Chelsea at 7s, Villa 10s, Newcastle 14s, Brentford even at 20s. There's a really good opportunity for teams like that to go and win a trophy. Particular attention to Brentford, lads. Yeah. Before a ball was kicked, I was having them in the relegation scrap down there with us and West Ham and Wolves and all of that. They're in a European spot. They're pretty much safe in the Premier League. Why can't Brentford go and do it? They've got Macclesfield next to knock out one of the heroes of the round before. Why can't Brentford go and win a cup and pay some real attention?
Why can't they? What did you say they were, Matt? 20-1. 20-1.
Yeah,
Brentford.
20-1, just behind Newcastle in the betting, who, as you know, obviously want to go for a trophy. They're in the EFL Cup defending champs, and Chelsea in there as well, who won the Club World Cup. I would say the FA Cup carries a little bit more weight than a Club World Cup. I think, lads, one of these teams who are sort of in the top third of the betting, with Arsenal and City probably concentrating on the Prem and probably concentrating on the Champions League a bit more. I think one of these teams are going to come out the pack and win it.
Do you know what, Simon? I think Matt's maybe got a point in that. Brentford, with all due respect to Macclesfield, you would think that this time it will be the end of Macclesfield and Brentford will move on. One of Aston Villa or Newcastle will depart the scene. One of Liverpool or Brighton will depart the scene. You know, when it narrows down to it, who's to say they don't get to Wembley and win the damn
Palace won the
thing?
cup last year, didn't they?
Yes.
So there's no reason why.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, will Brentford finish fifth in the Premier League? I doubt it. Is Keith Andrews doing a decent job? Yeah. Those that felt that Matthew Benham didn't know what he was talking about should perhaps spend more time watching what Matthew Benham's done with the football club for the last 10 years. So it's no surprise to me that Brentford are doing okay. It's a legacy situation, given that Thomas Frank created that. They've lost players out of that culture. They've gone like Wissa and Mbama. They've gone to other football clubs. Yet they've carried on in the same way they carried on when Ivan Toney departed.
Sure.
And other players have departed in the past.
Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins as well. So it's a testament to the club's strength. But, you know, the reasons why they can't is because there's better teams in the competition. But you catch a team on a day, and they can win the cup in the same way that Palace can.
Exactly. Let's think about Newcastle then. We spoke about them moments ago. They're in action tonight. It's live in talkSPORT, up against City. First leg against Man City. Where are you with Newcastle, Matt?
They are outsiders from a betting point of view at 11-5. City favs at 11-10 to go there and win. 13-5 the draw. I think the Geordies will fancy this one, lads, big time. I experienced St James's Park under the lights last week, as you boys know. That same scoreline, which is a mental game, by the way, that same scoreline, 4-3 to Newcastle, 66-1 tonight. But City, they're obviously magic going forward. Reinders, Shirky, Haaland, Foden, the list is endless of what they can do going forward. But are they a bit suspect at the back? Rodri might have to be a makeshift centre-half. We're hearing they've got the lad back from Watford on loan who, you know, might not have experienced St James's Park under the lights with 40,000 odd Geordies trying to get at him. I think Newcastle 11-5, a little bit of value. And if we're talking about continuing from last year, how great would it be if Eddie Howe can defend Eddie Howe Newcastle can defend the EFL Cup 2 years on the bounce?
Yeah, you take Man City to win there tonight, do you, Simon?
Are these no longer two-legged semi-finals?
They are two-legged semi-finals.
I take Man City to win the tie.
You take them to win the tie?
Yeah.
Who do you take to win tonight?
No, I'm going to sit on the fence and let the bookies tip who they want.
Okay, I take Newcastle to win tonight. In the Africa Cup of Nations, then there were four. So tomorrow, first semi-final, Senegal, Egypt. Second semi-final, also tomorrow, Nigeria, Morocco. Morocco, the host nation. Where are you going with this end, Matt?
Yeah, we'll probably give this a watch. Senegal, Egypt. Obviously, the narrative here is Mane versus Salah. This is round 3 of that. In 2021, Senegal won a penalty shootout with Mane taking the decisive kick in the AFCON. He did it a few months later again in Qatar. Mane scoring a winning penalty. Salah to get his revenge, and Egypt to go through his 6-4. Nigeria, Morocco a few hours later. Nigeria, strong showing for Premier League players in there. The Fulham have got plenty of lads in that team. Bassi, Chukwueze, obviously Osimhen is the centre forward. It's a bit of a hero player out there, but they're facing the hosts and on paper the best ranked team in Africa, Morocco, who are favourites to go and win this thing. Morocco obviously do magical things in knockout tournaments when they beat Spain in the World Cup last time out. I'm having Senegal, Morocco in the final, lads, and those two teams to win their games in 90 minutes is around about 7-2.
Senegal, Morocco. I'm not going to disagree with that. Morocco would love to win it in their home soil, would they not? Matt, thank you very much indeed. Remember, visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Simon, back here, Manchester United, we now know, face a 40-game season, their shortest since 1914-15. Michael Carrick will be taking over later today as the interim who succeeded the last interim. But the financial hit of no Europe, coupled with early cup exits, could see United pursue a lucrative mid-season friendly to make up some of the losses. Yeah, but that's what's expected to happen. While their rivals are competing for titles, trophies, major honours, will United really contemplate competing in a mid-season friendly or two to help balance the books. Is that where they've got to?
Didn't they? Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, what's the big deal about that? The World Club Championship was not a meaningful competition a few years ago, and they dropped out of the FA Cup to play in it once.
It's not where Manchester United want to be.
No, we know that. But what's the issue with them playing in a competition?
It's just
they're not playing any games.
It demonstrates this season how far they've fallen.
We know that. We know they're out of the League Cup. We know they're out of the FA Cup. We know they weren't playing in Europe. We knew that from the beginning of the season. We know that really and truly Manchester United's focus was to try and get as high up the table as they possibly could and get into Europe next season. So if they achieve that and they play a competition, what's the big deal? The fact they're still the draw, the fact that they still can command and demand huge fees, the fact that we spend more time on this football club than any other football club, and even more on football clubs that are successful, tells you the draw of Manchester United. And also, it's interesting to see what Man United are going to do financially, because I think Man United are not cash rich at this moment in time. Despite my pushback against Jim Ratcliffe's ridiculous assertion a year ago, they had no money. I think to go again with transfer fees, I don't think they've got it. So who's going to put it in? I don't think Ineos are going to want to put it in anymore. And we know the Glazers aren't, and they can't raise it through debt. So the interesting thing is going to be what United are going to do to be competitive. Because all well and good keep paying off £10 million here and £14 million to Ranić and £10 million to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and whatever they're going to pay, probably not huge amounts to Amorim. Yeah, well, 12 million to Amorim. So what else, and they keep on buying players that everyone keeps on telling you are crap and they're not worth the money they paid. Somewhere along the line, United are going to run aground, because I don't think Ineos are going to want to keep pumping money in. No. We know the Glazers won't put a copper coin in. No. And they've got £1 billion of a debt on their books through stadium finance, or for the financing that was put in place when the Glazers bought the club in the first place, and the transfer debts they've already got. So it's an interesting time for Man United. So, of course, they're going to go and take commercial opportunities because they need the money, perhaps.
An interesting time, a challenging time.
Yeah, interesting, challenging.
Because they've got to do something.
Some people are interested by challenges.
Well, I mean, they played 30 home matches last season.
And they got 160 million in revenue.
And they got 160 million in match day income. Based on the figures from last year, they're now seeing a £53 million drop in match day revenue this time around.
But they've also adjusted their squad costs as well. They've reduced their wages, haven't they? They've taken other costs out. So there is some tightening of the belt. Of course, that was all portrayed in a certain way as mean-spirited and curmudgeon-like. Not the fact that people got money for old rope in the past, and perhaps it was a correcting of what people were getting for doing very little. Not that was ever catered into the equation.
How do you know they were doing very little?
Because if you can get rid of them and not need to replace them, then they must have been doing not much in the first place.
Yeah, it was a pretty unseemly cull when they get rid of a bunch of people.
Yeah, in your view. But in a commercial view, when people look at it and go, I walked into a football club and I went, look at the diabolical liberties that are going on here. Look at what's going on here. Look at the amount of fat and wastage and people not doing their jobs very well and how much money is being spent. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because someone else is paying it.
Yeah, but they're quite happy to burn money when they appointed, then sacked Dan.
But it's not burning. That's the nature of the beast. It's like when Arsenal. When Arsenal turned round and said we can't take players' contracts and we can't reduce them down during COVID, but we can go and spend £100 million footballers. They're two different budgets. They come from a different perspective. In order to be a football business, you've got to have football players. In order to be able to trade and sell and monetize a football club and utilize the assets that you've got to be able to create outcomes in the commercial world, you buy and sell players.
Right.
It's like Coca-Cola laying off people but still doing advertising campaigns. So if they lay off 100 people, yet they still advertise on TV, is that a bad thing? No, the business needs to go forward.
So in the current climate, what new football players can we expect to walk through the front door?
Well, it's interesting. My point is it's interesting because if you look at United's finances, it doesn't look like they've got a lot of money around, and they're going to rely heavily on Ineos.
Yeah,
and Ineos is. I'm sure you're not going to be predisposed to spending hundreds of millions of pounds on a football club that's suddenly turned into a labour rather than a love.
So United, as a talking point, and you've just conceded, that it's interesting.
Totally.
Yeah.
Of course it's always interesting.
That's why we're talking about it.
But it's interesting because I argue that Man United is the biggest club in the world, or close to it. Other people then push back against it.
Probably not, I think.
Not now, because their achievements are being diminished. But I tell you what, take any other football club. Take Madrid, take other football clubs and go, achieve nothing or very little for 12 years and see what your currency is. It's interesting that United's currency in media terminologies, in footprints digital around the world, and in commercial opportunities is still relatively sizable, given their performances and the degradation of the brand and the achievements has been so significant over recent years.
Yes.
I mean, you could make that argument for Liverpool. I mean, the patience that Liverpool fans have exhibited, they won a Champions League and they won an FA Cup, they won a League Cup, but they didn't win a Premier League for 30 years.
But you see, this is exactly the point as to why we are talking about Manchester. Could you imagine Real Madrid in this predicament at the moment? No Europe, coupled with early cup exits.
No.
What will we do? And Florentino Perez saying to Arbeloa, the new man, I tell you what we'll do. We'll go to Saudi Arabia and play some team and get a bunch of money. That'll help us.
He was the architect behind...
Desperate.
Yeah, he was the architect behind the new European Super League. So what are you on about?
Yeah.
He was already in that camp, suggesting that there should be a complete sea change of what Real Madrid should participate in, what shouldn't do. Yeah. Real Madrid don't want to play in competitions that they've been scheduled to play in. Real Madrid don't want to turn up at Ballon d'Ors because their players don't win. Don't use them as an example.
Anyway, but thanks for joining me during that discussion there about Manchester United. Highly relevant, don't you think? We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Jim White and Simon Jordan having a chat live on talkSPORT. In the midst of January, we have a relatively high-profile loss at Tottenham Hotspur. Fabio Paratici, Tottenham Hotspur's joint sporting director, is set to leave just 4 months after officially returning to the football club. And it's strange that, because as recently as October last year, the same Paratici was speaking alongside a gentleman called Johan Lange, who was also on Spurs books, of course, in that similar capacity. And they were talking about their joint roles at the football club. This is specifically Paratici talking.
I want to thank even the fans, because they make me feel really important for them. They supported me everywhere. When I met them, they were really, they showed me their love, and it means a lot for me. So for this reason, this club is really special for me. And then back to this role and work. Joined to Johan and the sport director role is a great feeling for me. I think we have different skills, but we know football area each other in the right way. So my skills are more players, managing players, transfer window, loans and pathways. So are more in this way, but together we will discuss about. With the coach and with the recommended players, and this is my job.
So Paratici, he's had an interesting time of it at Tottenham Hotspur. He was there, then he was away from there for a spell after he was banned from FIFA, and then he was back at the football club. Yeah. But now, somewhat intriguingly, he's expected to move to Fiorentina after the January transfer window has closed, citing personal reasons. Fiorentina, third bottom of the Italian league at the moment, having won 2 in 20. Tottenham have declined to comment on the likely move. Italian football expert Daniele Fisichella joins us live. Daniele, what is going on here? Why is Paratici heading on out and heading back to Italy?
Paratici is keen to move to Italy, from what I understand. So what he said in the previous month in the interview that you just played, kind of contrast with what he's willing to do, has been willing to do, because he was also in the frame to join AC Milan last summer as a director of football before they chose Iglitare. And now there is the opportunity to join Fiorentina, which is going to be made official after the 2nd of February, after the window closes. They propose him a 5-year deal as a sporting director, but most importantly, he will oversee all the technical areas there. So he's going to have carte blanche, total freedom. He's keen to go back to Serie A, where his record speaks for itself. He's been extremely successful at Juventus in over 12 years being there. And this is a project with Fiorentina where he's not only going to overhaul the entire squad. He has already started, in reality, working for them. If you look at some of the deals they've already made this month, but also looking, of course, to build for the future a very ambitious team that at the moment is a little bit in disarray, but they are improving, and it's unlikely they're going to go down this season.
So, Simon, as Daniele is explaining there, at Fiorentina he's going to get carte blanche, something that obviously he wasn't going to get at Tottenham.
Maybe. I mean, obviously his relationship was with Daniel, wasn't it? And so Daniel's departure might have hastened or sharpened his thinking about what opportunities exist for him somewhere else.
But he officially got the job, Simon, 1 month after Levy had left the club.
Yeah, he got brought back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was being brought back by Daniel, wasn't he? He got brought back by Daniel to some extent. And clearly that was a situation that was already in the offing. And how they created that and created it, and how they navigated the fact that he was banned from Italian football for 30 months for the Juventus player fixing pricing that went on with, I think, Andrea Agnelli, and that challenges he had there. I mean, look, I think what it doesn't do is I don't think it bodes very well for Thomas Frank, because I think that Paratici and Daniel Levy were very heavily supportive of Thomas Frank, and it leaves him slightly isolated. I think you've got a situation now where at Tottenham, without wanting to dwell too much on Tottenham because we're talking about Paratici, you've got two number twos running the football club. Daniel Levy was a definite number one. Whether you liked him or not, is that he was a number one.
Sure.
And I think Paratici, in that relationship with the other sporting director, was the intellectual capital and the better of the two.
Right.
So now they've got a football club with two number twos running it, and a manager that doesn't have the allies that he had previously. I think it's challenging for Thomas Frank. Paratici, I think, is leaving because I think the dynamic of Tottenham Hotspur's changed. I don't think he perhaps enjoys who he's working with.
What kind of man are Tottenham Hotspur going to lose in Paratici, Daniele?
As an extremely successful sporting director, he was at Juventus between 2010 and 2021. He's the man who brought Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus, which is the major coup of the last probably 30 years in Serie A. But not only, he built a Juventus side that won 9 Scudettos in a row with the likes of Arturo Vidal, Carlos Tevez, Paulo Dybala. And of course, he was a dynasty at Juventus that he helped to build alongside first Conte and then Max Allegri. And now he's going to Fiorentina, as I mentioned already, working with them behind the scenes. I mean, the fact that Fiorentina have signed on loan Manor Solomon from Spurs via Villarreal, a player that only played 5 games for Spurs, but I think that is a sign that Paratici somehow is helping the move. He's shipping some players out, getting a few more in. They're going to get a strong man, somebody that Fiorentina desperately needs, who's going to become the right-hand man of Rocco Commisso, the Italo-American president, and somebody that Fiorentina desperately need since the sad passing of Joe Barone a couple of seasons ago, who was an extremely capable sporting director. So Paratici looks like a very good fit, as I said, on a big deal, 5-year deal, which is unprecedented probably for this sort of role.
Daniele Fisichella, thank you so much, as always, Daniele, Italian football expert on Paratici in this instance, heading out of Tottenham Hotspur, heading back to Italy to take over at Fiorentina. We're coming up to 12 noon.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at 2 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. We're expecting an announcement from Man United shortly. Michael Carrick's at the training ground ahead of his unveiling as their new interim.
I heard that Carrick wants to be a coach, wants to be a number two, doesn't want to be a front man.
Yeah.
But he clearly did a decent job at Middlesbrough. Clearly he's a sensible head, and it looks different.
Simon Jordan's wondering if Man United caved to external pressure over a possible return to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We understand Carrick's backroom staff will include Jonathan Woodgate, Johnny Evans and Steve Holland. Simon's questioned the wisdom of appointing Gareth Southgate's former England assistant.
We did fall short, and we were a mentality that people criticised about not having big game mentality when it came across. We didn't beat anybody. So Holland formed part of that. So how great is that?
Man United are home to Man City, live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. We're told Eric Dyer's been offered to West Ham, who are considering the loan. Dyer's under contract at Monaco till 2028. Meanwhile, here's Alex Crook on the Lucas Paquetá situation.
It looks like he's keen to go back to Brazil. And actually, it's been suggested to me this morning that West Ham officials are fearing he could even go on strike and refuse to play in the upcoming Premier League game this weekend against Spurs in order to try and force through this move. So
Paquetá wants to move back to Flamengo. And White and Jordan are told Xabi Alonso will be a top 3 managerial candidate for any Premier League club after his Real Madrid sacking. But Spanish football expert Graham Hunter says one place Alonso would not go is Chelsea. Here's why.
Interfering owners, 62 directors of football, there's a problem coming. Alonso would not choose Chelsea. Stand on me. If I'm wrong, get me back on the show and humiliate me when Alonso's the new Chelsea manager. He won't choose that.
Finally, Moses Atama has suffered an injury in his training camp. It means his heavyweight fight against Jermaine Franklin has been postponed till March the 28th. There's loads more content on talkSPORT's Boxing YouTube.
talkSPORT News.
We're told diesel's not going anywhere anytime soon, despite reports it could disappear from pumps by 2030. And around 25,000 households are still without water in Kent and Sussex. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the weather, our range of services is longer than the queue at the Chippy on a Friday night. Tyres, MOTs, brakes and more. Book today at quickfit.com.
Across Scotland and Northern Ireland, sunshine and blustery showers. Elsewhere cloudy with spells of rain, heavy in places, a bit colder in the north.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It is now officially Tuesday lunchtime. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT. We're coming to you live on your TV as well. Even Prime Video, you can watch whatever you want to watch on whatever channel, it seems to me. So many people coming up to me and telling me that you watch myself and Mr. Jordan on a daily basis, and we are delighted about that. So it's not just a radio show, it's a TV show as well. And we're with you on this occasion and every occasion through until 1 o'clock this Tuesday lunchtime. We touched on this yesterday, Simon. Steve Harmison, former Test cricketer, joined us live in the studio. Compared to cricket and rugby, does football actually look quite grown up? Should elite sport and alcohol be allowed to mix? That is the bottom line question. In the world of cricket, it seems there's a bit of a problem. And I just cast my mind back as recently as the Ashes Tour. England are now considering a player curfew when the England team leaves for the tour of Sri Lanka this week. The move comes after multiple reports of late night drinking during the Ashes Tour and the build up to it in New Zealand. Steve Harmison opened up on this yesterday.
So when you get 2 days off, the last thing you want to be doing after you've just spent 5 days on a hot cricket field, the only thing you can have is room service at night time, or they've now got a chef with him. You need to get out of you're caged animals.
But doesn't the alcohol make you worse?
It's what you want individually.
It's a quick fix, no?
Well, I'm not defending them. All I'm saying is I'm trying to come up with an argument that.
Well, maybe we need some balance.
When you go away from home, and there's 2 days, 3 days in between a test match, because the test schedule is so grueling now, what the individual needs to make the individual have a release is up to him.
Steve was saying there it doesn't really have a problem, cricket, but it really does, doesn't it? Let's break it down.
Certain individuals did. Not you can't. You didn't. We didn't see a dentist drinking chair like we saw with the England footballers in 1996, did we? We saw a few instances where Ben Duckett and Harry Brook have got themselves on the wrong end of some confrontations.
Right.
As the England captain did several years ago, that got himself into a real situation outside a nightclub. So it happens with young athletes. The argument about alcohol and sport, I've never understood it. I've never understood how you can expect to be an elite athlete and go out on drinking binges. Footballers still do it. We still see, we saw a year ago Jack Grealish staggering out of a pub, didn't we? So it's still being done.
No, but football's got a hold of it, hasn't it?
How's that then?
Yes, I think football is showing that it's matured in this area.
Has it? Where? On what basis?
Well, you mentioned Jack. Now, that was by no means an extreme incident. It was an incident, but it certainly wasn't on a par with what we used to see in the, like you said, the dentist chair. Sure. And the likes of Gaza was involved in that. In fact, Gascoigne was in studio with us just last year and spoke about what it used to be like for him with England.
But it was just one time where he'd give us all a day off, and I can't sunbathe. I'm from Newcastle, and all the players were sunbathing. And I'm walking about, what can I do? What can I do? And I seen a cocktail hut on the beach. I went, oh, that'll do me. So I go there on my own. There's just one guy working in the cocktail hut. And I gives a pina colada. So he gives a pina colada, and I thought, this is a life. Playing for my country in the World Cup. Son, just qualified to play against Belgium. I love pina colada, I love it. Gaza? I went, oh no, it's him. He's going to go mad with this. So when what you got there? And I just remember, I've got a strawberry milkshake, Gaffer. He went, give me your stop. I went, oh no. Look behind the guy, Bobby Robson, I went, don't. So he cottoned on and gave him a milkshake. So this is unbelievable. So I'm like, oh no. So he's tried his milkshake. He went, this is different. He said, does it taste yours again? And then he tasted mine. He went, and then he tasted his, and he went, hold on, this is not the same. And the guy went, what do you mean? He went, where's my umbrella in cherry and sword? Oh, well, that's it. I've got to be with that.
So we get the idea. That was back at the 1990 World Cup. Yeah. And he was talking about Sir Bobby Robson. But, I mean, we are not going to be hearing anything like that in America involving any England player, I would have thought, at the upcoming World Cup finals in the summer. Football has moved on, Simon.
It has. I mean, we saw players, young players. I think it was Phil Foden and another player who escapes my memory at the moment in time that couldn't stay in their rooms and
Mason
Greenwood that were caught in circumstances a couple of years ago. We saw Derby players crash a car 2 or 3 years ago. We saw West Bromwich Albion players driving around Barcelona having nicked a car when Alan Pardew was manager of the subject he didn't like to talk about last time he was in the studio with me. And we see it still going on. What I think is at the top end, there's a better way of suppressing media information. People are better managed than Paul Gascoigne probably was back in the time. And there's also a lack of tolerance from the public. Once upon a time, it was a great tribute to go buy Georgie Best a drink. Now people are saying, actually, I pay a lot of money to watch footballers. I don't expect to see them in a pub. But do I think culturally, do I think that drinking and being an elite athlete goes hand in hand? How can it? How can you be an elite athlete and have alcohol consumption at high levels? And the expectations of football, but also with footballers in the Premier League, they get private jets to go somewhere else.
Well, there is that.
We don't see it.
I mean, in the world of rugby, Brian Moore was talking in the Telegraph, former player turned commentator, of course. Yep. And he said, recent revelations from the Ashes Tour have drawn focus on the subject of sport and drinking. Rugby has long been associated with drinking, and at junior level, long may it continue, but the problem comes in the world of elite sport. And he says, you can't have it both ways, taking the money and justifying big salaries by claiming you are an elite.
That's right.
Then wanting the freedom to act like an ordinary person.
Well, that's right.
You can't have it both ways. And Brian makes a good point.
But elite...
And even rugby, like football, has got a bit of a hold on it.
Okay, so we talk about... he only defines it as an obligation upon the elite. I would suggest to you that anyone who's a professional sportsman, whether you're playing at a Premier League football club or playing at a League Two bottom of the table football club, is a professional sportsman, and as such would be well served treating his profession with the due respect that they're entitled.
So why aren't the cricketers doing that? Why isn't Harry Brook doing that, or didn't do that in the Ashes Tour?
Well,
why didn't Ben Duckett do that?
Depends on the length and breadth of what they've done and how repeatedly they've done it. We've got instances of Harry Brook and Ben Duckett, which is not the entire playing squad. It's two players that have stepped out of line. That shouldn't be just categorised as an entire group. And the questions that Steve was trying, I thought, desperately to try and answer were the questions about cultures and the fact that they were stuck in hotels and the fact that they're away from their family, which then I then pushed back and said, didn't their family come and join them? Yeah, their family came and joined them. So they're not stuck in hotels then. They've got their family around them. So it's just a case of they've got to occupy themselves. And why don't they occupy themselves by doing something more meaningful than sitting in a bar drinking themselves to Palookaville? But they're young men, and the pressures of life and society and expectations around them are that people will let off steam in a certain way. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a drink. I think there's something wrong with the drinking culture in this country, that we have a culture around drinking, and it's seeded into our way of thinking. It's seeded into our psyche and our culture. I'm not suggesting I'm moralising about it. I'm just saying it is part of our culture. You know, there's nothing funnier and truer than the Mike Bassett skit that Ricky Tomlinson does when he's dancing on the table. Is, and the Brits on Pele walks in the Brits, who are they? That is what we are like at times.
But you see, we've arrived at a situation now, though, that England, as I said in the introduction to this, are considering a player curfew when they go to Sri Lanka later this week.
There's not much to do with
football is nowhere near that territory now. Football has moved on. It's got a grip, Simon. It's matured. Thomas Tuchel will not have a problem like maybe Sir Bobby did all these years ago.
You got Basuma in their dressing room going around doing laughing gas left, right, and centre. You know, they've got their own challenges. It's young individual players, and sometimes you have more challenges with players in football because they've got more disposable income, and they're little islands in their own right. I think they can do what they want, when they want, how they want. So it's got its own challenges. The current live one is England got smashed in the Ashes, and people are looking for someone to blame for it. And they're looking to blame a culture that probably no one talked about when England were winning test matches and being gung-ho and pushing their boat out. Nobody said, hang on a second, have you guys been out drinking?
So Steve Harmison said yesterday he didn't think a player curfew was the answer. Do you?
Depends upon the extent of how badly these players are behaving. Depends what you achieve by it. Do you achieve something by... I think you've got to have borderline controls over people. I think people have got to have respect for the opportunity that they're in. I think Ben Duckett and Harry Brook deserve to have a good kick up the jacksie. I'm reminded of who they're playing for. They're playing for their country. You know, it's bad enough doing it if you were playing for your county, but you're playing for your country. You're representing a nation. You're over there with the highest honour.
Yeah.
And you're being rewarded by central ECB contracts. So you get all of those obligations upon you. At the same time, as you've got to give young men a bit of latitude. You've got to instill in them the basic disciplines. Like as a parent, you've got to instill in your kids the basic disciplines and not put it on teachers or society or politicians to tell you how to parent your kids.
Did you ever get let down by a group of players in your time at Palace?
Yeah.
Like the West Brom situation, as you said?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, and Neil Ruddock was the ringleader with it, taking them all out one night and on a beering session and singing horrible songs in one of the hotels in the West End. Yeah, of course you do. But what you do is you set the standard. That was very early in my ownership. It was within 3 months of my ownership, and it was the first time players did it, and the last time they did it.
So you got it right, and you got it the way you wanted it eventually.
Well, yeah, but you've got to have standards. I mean, the manager was bleeding worse. The manager had the worst standards at the time.
Football has got it right.
But I just gave you an example.
But I think England needs to try, in terms of cricket, England do have a job in their hands to improve their image when they're on tour.
Do you acknowledge I've just given you a list of players?
Basuma. I'm talking about an England
we've got
situation.
other players. We've got other players. He's playing at a high-profile football club, right? I've just given you an example a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but he's no longer playing for the club.
But notwithstanding it, there are other players that have done it. It's not something... We've got 2 players. Come on then, give me the culture of cricket then. Give me a list of cricket players that are abusing their process in society and not acknowledging their responsibilities. Give me the ailment that cricket is suffering from ad infinitum, rather than this focus at this moment in time, because we just got bashed up by the Aussies, who probably were going out themselves having a drink. Do I like athletes drinking? Do I think it impacts upon their performance? In my view, I think it probably does. There's a reason why rugby players have got a different shape now. There's a reason why footballers have got a different shape now. There's a reason why Olympic sprinters don't look like they've been down the pub. There's a reason why tennis players can do what they do over the course of a season. They're not people that drink alcohol. They give up this stage of their career and their lives to further their own opportunity. But certain sports bake it into their thinking. But we're after it now because we're after the England team because 2 players have stepped out of line, behaved badly, and now we're talking about in the media curfewing the players because they got it wrong, and they had the audacity to push back against the old guard that wanted to give them a lecture about how to prepare for this tour. None of the old guard that ever went over to Australia and won, but all know how to tell the England team how to do it. And the only mistake the England team made was the arrogance that Ben Stokes had by making that comment, which is, I don't take this from a bunch of has-beens. He should never have said that. But the fact of the matter is, England played a bold cricket for many years under Brendan McCullum. They've illuminated cricket to some extent. They've made everyone else change their approach, and they're just not quite good enough to beat the Australians in Australia. And Geoffrey Boycott, who I happen to admire quite a lot and loved him as a cricketer and like him as a Yorkshireman that speaks his mind, being as vitriolic and as bitter as he can be about this group of cricketers, I don't understand. Because the only time he went and won a tour in Australia was 78, 79, when all the Australian players were away with Kerry Packer's lot.
So no player curfew needed in this instance.
I don't think
Sri Lanka.
so. I don't know what it achieves. Do you get a better... I mean, whether we like it or not, sport has differences, and you need this bonding where people are going to do something more than people working in an office because it's a unique experience of the physicality of sport. Do you breed a better environment by making them all victims of a childless treatment, or do you smack them, remind them of the responsibilities, and say never do it again?
They're not victims. They're not victims of anything.
When you lock somebody up...
I mean, what's wrong in saying to the England cricketers when they arrive in Sri Lanka, now, we're applying a bit of discipline here, and we kind of lost in that area over in Australia. So here's the thing. Nobody's going out and...
But you're a child. I mean, you curfew people to either take them away from the circumstances or to punish them, and you're punishing them, and you normally punish children, don't you? Or you punish criminals.
This is true.
So victims are probably not the right terminology given the true meaning of the word victim, but they're not the beneficiaries of a curfew, are they?
Right. So don't punish them like a child.
Well,
anyway,
hopefully they won't
enjoying
deserve
your
it.
tangerine and Maltesers.
I need the energy, yeah.
Okay, we'll see. In the meantime, England are considering a player curfew, and once they've done that, and we'll find out what they've decided, we'll maybe have Steve Harmison back in there. We got there. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. For the latest special offers, pick up this month's Real Deals in branch or view online at selcobw.com.
So when it comes to who was or who is the real deal this week, when we get round to it, in conjunction, of course, as always, with Selco Builders Warehouse, our attention falls in one place on one man in the world of boxing, and it has to be Agit Cabayel, who stopped Damien Kamniba in the third round at the weekend over in Germany to retain his WBC interim heavyweight title. The German heavyweight boxer Agit Cabayel has to be the real deal, and I'm delighted to say Agit joins us live on the show this lunchtime. Agit, good afternoon to you. How are you?
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm good. Thank you. And you?
Very good, thank you. Simon is alongside me. He's a fan of boxing, as am I. He's a big fan of yours, as am I. Let's talk about what happened at the weekend. You stopped Kamniba in the third round and retained your WBC interim heavyweight title. What kind of challenge did he give to you?
Yes, he gave me a good challenge. You know, this guy never loses in his career. You know, in the first round, he is very motivation. You know, he give me in the first round, give me good round in the first round. He give me good punches, but you know, this was unbelievable. You know, I first time fight in Germany for people. You know, 30,000 people was inside the arena, and in the first round I had a little bit sleep. You know, and after second round I wake up and you know, and the three round I stopped the fight. The referee stopped the fight.
Got you. Well, congratulations on that. This was you making your return to the ring since you won over Xabi Alonso in February 2025. But this was you back on home soil, as you said there, Agit, in Germany. How special was that?
This was unbelievable. You know, it was unbelievable for myself, you know. I have a so big support in Germany. All the people come in the arena. This was unbelievable, really. And I'm happy for this, you know. And yeah, who's the next? You know, who's the next? We are ready. The German crowd is ready. And I think I bring German boxing back on the map, you know.
I think you did. Simon, where do you see Agit?
I'm a massive admirer.
The heavyweight landscape.
I'm a massive admirer of his. I mean, he chopped down Makhmudov before people thought that could happen. Obviously, he dealt with Xabi Alonso and Frank Sanchez in equal measure. I was a little bit worried that he was a little bit easier to hit on Saturday than I anticipated, and I felt the fight was stopped a little bit early. But he should be fighting for the WBC belt. He is probably, as others would describe, he's the president of the Who Needs Him club, because he's in such good form. I am a massive fan of his. I watched him when he beat Makhmudov. People didn't expect him to win that fight. And the heart and the discipline that he had to exhibit in that fight. And then people started to watch him. They knew him from fighting Derek Chisora years ago. But this run of form probably makes him the most formidable heavyweight around. Usyk shouldn't be fighting Deontay Wilder. He should be fighting Agit Cabayel for the WBC belt. And I'm sure you agree, yes?
Yeah, I think so. You know, he will maybe make a. I heard he will fight. Usyk will fight with Deontay Wilder, but I don't know. I think we must wait first. What is the next option? But I will in this year. I will make more fight. You know, I will stay busy. You know, I will make more fights in my career. You know, this was also a bad situation. I fight with Zhang 2025 in February. I was 11 months. I was not in the ring. You know. And now I say to Queensberry, please give me more fight. I will stay active, and I hope, yeah. When Usyk have not time for fight, why not with UK guy Fabio Bosley or Deontay Wilder?
Well, this is it. I mean, but you are the interim champion of a WBC, though, aren't you? Can I ask you a rather bold question? I thought that you were easier to hit than I anticipated that you were. I saw you get hit against Xabi Alonso, and we know you've got stomach, you can get up. But I was surprised at some of the punches that you took on Saturday night. You got rid of him, and I don't know what you think about the stoppage. I thought it was a little bit early. But there's a school of thought that says because you're on such a great run of form that there might have been a little bit of overconfidence in that fight.
Yeah, I was not confident. I say this, you know, in the first round, so long time I fight not on so much big crowd, you know.
Right.
I was a little bit shocked, I think. And Damien Kamniba, you know, he's very motivated. You know, he never lost in his career. I think for him was also the big chance, you know. And why you give me the first round, give me the good fight, But and after one round, after the first round, I come back, and I think also this was the stop too early to fight.
Yeah.
This was the problem, Give me 10 seconds more, and
you would have probably stopped him.
I think this.
I was going to ask you at the end of the fight on Saturday in Germany. You were asked, right, what's next? So you asked the crowd, who do you think should be next? And they all broke into the chant, Usyk, Usyk. They all want Usyk for you. Do you want Usyk? Maybe not next, but sometime soon.
Yes, why not? I say this, why not? I think this is also the good challenge for Usyk. I'm the younger guy, I'm the fresher guy. This is my dream. I will the big belt. All the belts is here. All the belts is here.
Yeah.
Please give me the chance for the big belt. But when Usyk is busy, when he fight with Deontay Wilder, why not? I can fight with the UK guys. Give me Fabio Wardley or Daniel Dubois. I'm ready.
We see the belts behind you, and it's a very impressive collection of belts, Agit.
Thank you.
But with Usyk, Fury couldn't do it, AJ couldn't do it, Dubois couldn't do it. Are you telling me you could beat Usyk?
Yes, we train for this. Why not? He's also, I think he's now 39-year-old. I think this year maybe he's 40. I think why not? I'm younger, I'm fresher, and I come I give him hard fight. Really, I think he's the best boxer in the heavyweight division right now. But I'm motivated. I think this is a good fight for the fans. He never lost in his career. I never lost in my career.
What do you think, Simon? I mean, Agit is right. Agit is 27-0,
but I think
no better time for him.
Irrespective of whether he can beat Usyk or not, I think he deserves that opportunity. He deserves it more than Deontay Wilder deserves it, because he's the interim champion. The difficulty with him fighting Fabio Wardley, despite the fact that it seems they're both in the same stable at Queensberry, is that why does Fabio want to make his first defence of the WBA title against Agit Cabayel, who's in such a rich vein of form? Now, I know that fighters won't duck anybody, but anyone managing his career is going to go, no, thank you. Where he should be fighting and where the opportunity should be for Agit should be against Usyk. If you can't get Fabio Wardley for the reasons that I've just described, Agit, because if you were in his shoes and it was the first defence of a world title, you probably wouldn't want to fight you as the first opportunity. Where is the direction of travel? Daniel Dubois is a. I'm going to see his trainer Don Charles, or his former trainer Don Charles, in a minute. Is that a real opportunity for you to fight Dubois?
Yes, why not? I say this. He has a big name in the UK. All the people. This is also the next big test for me. I'm ready for the world title shot. I think Daniel Dubois fighting his career. He was a world champion. He fight 2 times with Usyk. And I think for all the crowd, all the fans around the world, I think this is a good fight. Or for the UK fans, for the German fans, we can make one organization in Germany. I think we can with this fight in the stadium.
Agit, well done at the weekend. Another tremendous win for you. And you've now racked up, as I said, 27-0. It's a heck of a record. And we'll see who's up for you next. Agit Cabayel, thank you for joining us this lunchtime.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. He's a character, isn't he?
He's also,
by God, he's the man.
He's in a rich vein of form. I mean, when he stopped Makhmudov about 18 months ago, coming up to 2 years ago, people weren't seeing that. They saw this huge Russian that terrified the living daylights out of everybody, and he went down and chopped him down. And then he fought Frank Sanchez, who everybody thought was the a potential title contender for the world title. Dealt with him quite convincingly. Got into a bit of a slugfest with Zhilei Zhang, and stopped Zhilei Zhang, which very rarely happens.
Well done, Agit.
So he's done brilliantly.
Well done, you. The Real Deal, no doubt about that. Pick up this month's Real Deals in branch review online at selcobw.com.
The Real Deal on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's Real Deals at selcobw.com.
for Super Bowl 60 on talkSPORT.
talkSPORT giving you the chance to be at the biggest show on earth, the Super Bowl, on Sunday, February the 8th, as well as a pair of tickets for you and a pal. We're chucking in return flights to San Francisco, 3 nights accommodation and spending money. The whole thing is covered by us. Listen up, here's how you can do it. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or the number to call 0343 418 7260. Lines close on the 22nd of January at 4 o'clock. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com. For your chance to be at the Super Bowl, text WIN to 83338 right now. Good luck to you. We were talking earlier, Simon and myself, about Newcastle up against Manchester City. It's the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg tonight. Tomorrow night, Chelsea and Arsenal go head-to-head. Chelsea head coach Liam Rosenior has said that he wants to emulate the longevity that Mikel Arteta has achieved with Arsenal. So it begs the question, how many managers have actually managed to bridge the gap and make the jump at a bigger club? Arteta, according to Liam, certainly is one.
Yeah, I'd love to be here for 6 years and longer. I'll be here as long as possible, but I'm aware in order for that to happen, I need to win. It's as simple as that. I understand every club has a different project. This word project comes out a lot now in football. But the idea in any project is that every game you play, you're trying to win it. It's as simple as that. So for me, my focus is, yes, I've got ideas about what I want the team to look like in a year's time, 2 years, 3 years' time. But I think I've got enough resources and enough tools with me now to win now. I've made that clear to the players. So, we're going to give it our best shot on Wednesday. The lads trained very, very well this morning. And, I'll make a decision on the team in the next few days. And hopefully we go and attack the game.
So that's Liam outlining to us that he wouldn't mind doing what Arteta has done. And certainly Arteta, Simon, it would seem, remains the outlier. He's been there since 2019 and he's got it right. No longer head coach, now the manager. Why do you think he remains the outlier? What has he done that is so different? Is it as simple as winning, as Liam says?
I think, obviously, you've got to take into consideration the clubs and what the attitude of the owners are in those clubs and the expectations of it. Arsenal went through a period of time where there was a long, slow death of 1,000 cuts for Arsene Wenger and the achievement of being a club that competed to get into Europe and didn't do much else. That's what people were accusing it of. His own fan base started to turn inwards, spent more of its time on that ghastly AFTV bitching and whining about what it wasn't achieving rather than what it was. You had the Unai Emery experiment, and they've given him some latitude. You had COVID that came in the middle of it. They won an FA Cup that got him some currency with someone else's side, and he's built a team that's now back in amongst the top four, back competing. The ownership model changed. Usmanov sold his shares. Kroenke got ownership of it. The guy from Spotify, Stefan Eck, was going to buy it and gave some sort of valuation of Arsenal at £2.5 billion. The ownership model started to change its thinking about this arm's length subsidiary mentality of an American business that owns an English football club. Josh Kroenke was put in there to give it more hands-on feel from the board. And Arteta's been given lots of latitude, and he's given them what they wanted to achieve, which is the club moving forward again. Hasn't won anything.
No.
Besides an FA Cup. And
FA Cup.
People will argue that it was someone else's team that he won it with. But what he's done is he bought this club that was... I remember going to watch them 2 years ago, I think it was, when they played Manchester City. And the absolute sea change in the fans' interaction with the players, the team, their expectations of it was a whole different level. So if you're the owners of Arsenal and you're looking at a club that's now challenging for the Premier League again, now competing in Europe and going deep in the European Cup competitions, and ultimately being successful economically to some extent, it's not, you're not losing money or huge amounts of it, you're going to look at it and go, well, why am I changing it? He really is quite close to getting what we want.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't, as a sensible owner, you don't live in a vacuum. You recognise that Man City have been able to do what they want with this wonderful manager in Guardiola. You recognise that Liverpool have had their moment in the sun. So much about Arsenal is right. So the reasons why he has gotten this latitude and dispensation is because of the club that he worked for has changed its tact. It's changed its ownership. It's progressed every season. Whereas United is just a car crash, a gift that keeps on giving for us in terms of the mistakes it appears to make. and other clubs, Klopp didn't win anything for 3 years.
No, true. But when you look down the list, David Moyes at Manchester United, Nuno Espirito Santo at Spurs. We've seen Graham Potter struggle to make the jump from Brighton to Chelsea. Thomas Frank is under pressure, no doubt, after joining Spurs from Brentford. And yet Arteta remains the only outlier.
Yeah, but you've got to look at the fits, right? Potter to Chelsea from Brighton wasn't a fit for me, and it was an inexperienced ownership making its first management decision based upon its falling out with Thomas Tuchel, and looking at his attitude towards them and thinking that an English manager, a young English manager that seems to coach younger players pretty well, and the coach that we're taking all these players from Brighton might be the right fit. And it was that was the flaws of considered thinking but wrong thinking. Nuno Espirito Santo, despite being, when you asked me of the 4 managers I would take if I was Tottenham owner back in the day, he was the one out of the 4 that I would take, not because the other 3, because he was wonderful, but the other 3 weren't, in my view, a fit, and he wasn't a fit for Tottenham. Who's the other examples that you're giving haven't been successful?
Moyes at United,
come on.
Potter from Brighton
Moyes
to
at
Chelsea.
Is not fair.
Thomas Frank.
Moyes at United is not fair, because anyone that followed Alex Ferguson and that legacy of that situation with that squad that was left to some extent, that was running out of fumes against an expectation of United, was going to find itself in trouble. He wasn't given fair shake. He was given 8 months. He was given no opportunity.
So, name them for me. How many have done what Arteta's done?
How many?
Or remotely close to doing what Arteta has done?
How are these clubs run? Arsenal, you can't really give an example, because Arsenal will run for 21 years. The big clubs we're talking about. Arsenal will run for 21 years by one manager. United will run for 26 years by another manager. Right? So Chelsea's model was to sack managers even when they're successful. Liverpool, tolerated a level of success and attainment from managers.
Has Eddie done it? From Bournemouth to Newcastle?
Has he made Of course he has.
Yeah.
But Newcastle isn't Liverpool, and Newcastle isn't Arsenal, and Newcastle isn't Manchester United, and Newcastle isn't Chelsea, and isn't going to be allowed to be. Newcastle could be Chelsea, Newcastle could be Man City, but it's not going to be allowed to be.
Could Oliver Glasner do it?
I think he's exhibited up to date all the characteristics of someone that's capable of making things better. You only know if someone's got the attributes to stand against the onslaught and the tsunami of opinions and expectations and noise that surrounds a big football club. It's a unique phenomenon. It doesn't exist at Crystal Palace, and it doesn't exist at Eintracht Frankfurt. It does exist at Manchester United. It does exist at Chelsea. This will be the defining point of whether Liam Rosenior is capable of managing at Chelsea.
Do you think he is?
I think they've spent 17 months looking at him. And so they must think he's capable of it.
I know you got a lot of intel at a recent lunch.
I think they spent 17 months looking at him at Strasbourg. I think what I've seen from Liam at Hull, he's right in what he says. Relative to the clubs that he's managed at, he has gotten good outcomes from them. They finished 7th in the Championship in the season that he got sacked, and it was a style of football issue, and they missed it. They should have gotten into the playoffs. So he has to take some responsibility for not getting into the playoffs, because they missed it, I think, on the last game of the season. You look at his performance at Derby, it was given to Wayne Rooney. It wasn't Wayne Rooney, it was Liam. He's gone to Strasbourg. He's punched at Strasbourg. They finished 7th. They have finished 6th previously, 2 or 3 years ago. So it's not a completely and utterly straight line of success that he's been given. And he's also been given more money, despite the recriminations of the Strasbourg fans about Blueco owning their club. They've had more money in transfer fees. This is it's not a natural progression. It's a natural progression for Liam because he's inside the building, in real terms, because of the ownership of Strasbourg. It certainly is a natural, because he hasn't won anything. And normally what happens with Chelsea is they go and get people that won things.
Yeah. But I know you're impressed, Simon, by the guy who told you, and I'm not going to blow it for you. But do you honestly believe him when he says they watched him for 17 months before they offered him the Chelsea?
Well, they had the opportunity to do so, didn't they? Because they own the club, and so they would have had some. Did they watch him every day? No. Did they do a time of motion on him? No. Were they clearly aware of him during periods of time and getting more and more exposure to him and more understanding of what he is and how he's developing and evolving as a manager?
So never mind him. Could Glasner do the Man United job? Tony Cascarino in the Times. Glasner is a good manager. He's done well to win the FA Cup with Palace. He's far from guaranteed to coach the top sides. The evidence was on full display as the holders crashed out to Macclesfield on Saturday.
But that's just silly, isn't it?
Why?
That's like saying when Don Revie lost to Hereford, he wasn't capable of managing at that level. The fact of the matter is that you've got a situation where they've lost a game, and you're suggesting that they exhibit you can't manage a big club. They managed the players performed badly in an individual game, and there's no excuse for it.
But he says there's an expectation for a dominant brand of football at elite clubs, and the underdog adjacent style he's found success with at Palace and Eintracht Frankfurt
won't wash at the top
But
level.
I'm not sure that he is comfortable. First of all, I think he's Germanic in his mentality, albeit he's an Austrian, and has this viewpoint that he is a very strong character. He was considered to be quite difficult at Eintracht Frankfurt and wanted his own way, and that is in part the reasons why he departed from Eintracht Frankfurt. I think he's done wonders at Crystal Palace. I don't know whether he's underdog aligned. I'm pretty sure that he has a greater expectation of himself than just to be an underdog, and we'll never know, and neither will Tony, whether he can step into the role of a big job and deal with the expectations of it. He's got the Eintracht Frankfurt job, he got the Crystal Palace job, and the next step is to give him a bigger job. You've got to give these guys a little bit of latitude. Amorim said silly things during his management, so I found it difficult not to criticise him. I wanted him to be given time, but some of the things that Amorim said were stupid. Thomas Frank hasn't said anything stupid. He's trying to change a football club that last year was all over the place.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see what Liam Senior is made of tomorrow night in the early days of his reign at Chelsea, because Chelsea take on Arsenal tomorrow night in the second semi-final, Carabao Cup second semi-final, first leg, live in talkSPORT.
boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
That's right. This Friday, watch Alex's Russia fight Raul Curiel. Play him, fight him. You can watch it Friday on DAZN. Don't miss DAZN's packed schedule with fights every week, including Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson, January the 31st at Madison Square Garden, New York, and kicking off February with Nick Ball versus Brandon Figueroa on February the 7th. Only on DAZN. Simon, will finish in the world of boxing today because British light welterweight Adam Azim faces Argentina's Gustavo Lemos January 31st at the Copper Box Arena in London. I wonder how Adam is feeling about that. And further down the line, might we see what many would think would be fight of the year? Dalton Smith, a winner at the weekend against Adam Azim. Adam joins us live this lunchtime. Adam, good afternoon to you. How do you feel about this upcoming fight against the Argentinian Gustavo Lemos at the end of this month?
I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to the fight. Especially, Gustavo Lemos is a very good opponent. He's fought in Richardson Hitchison. He's fought in Keyshawn Davis. So, for me to get in the ring with him, it shows what level of the stage I am at the world level now. So hopefully, I'll get the job done on the 31st of January.
What's the direction of travel, Adam? I mean, I've seen the recent performances. I thought you were great in your last 3 fights. Starting with O'Hara Davis and building up from there. And I thought the performance against Kurt Scobie was a good performance too. You've watched Dalton go and get a world title. The direction of travel, Richardson Hitchins, Gary Russell. Which way are you going, mate?
See, whatever my team decides, but if hopefully this fight will put me in the number 2 of the IBF, so we could be in the Richardson Hitchison route for the IBF world title, because I do want to go that route or either the Gary Russell route.
Because it would seem to me that the way to get you and Dalton, because everyone's clamouring for this fight, and I didn't want you to have this fight until you were ready in your career, and people were saying to get you in the ring early, and that's what they wanted to do. And I think that was the right decision for you not to take that fight until you'd built up where you wanted to be. I mean, you would prefer to fight Dalton Smith having a world title belt yourself, wouldn't you? So you both go in as champions. It makes it more monetizable. It also makes the negotiations more equal because you're both world title holders, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's always been in my head. Like, I'm not going to go into a fight where the fight's not built itself. The only downfall of that fight was, it wasn't broadcast on like DAZN or any other broadcasters, but it was on like Fight TV. But I don't think a lot of people did watch that fight. If it was on DAZN or if it was on a different broadcaster, then it would have been a bigger fight, and a lot of people would be watching it.
What do you make of Dalton's performance?
I thought it was a good performance. I thought it was a good performance. Although, the rounds were going on, you could see Subra and Matthias pushing the pressure on him. And then the thing is, what Dalton did, he stood and fought him. Which is probably a lot of people think that's the worst thing to do. Yeah, it's a bold move to do, but I feel like he got the job done, and the way he finished it off was a tremendous performance. And the main thing that, regardless if the performance was good or not, he got the world title. So how
do you think you're developing, Adam? How are you and Shane feeling that you're going now? I mean, obviously a lot of expectation. I've watched many of your fights over the years, seeing you. We've all been excited by you. I mean, how do you feel you're developing now as a fighter? What have you added to your arsenal over the last 4 or 5 fights?
I definitely, these 4 or 5 fights I've had now, I know how to fight at the long range, and how to fight mid range, and to fight on the inside. Like, a lot of people have seen me on the inside a lot now, which is what I'm good at now. So, if any opponent is coming at me like Lemos, I'm gonna hopefully dissect him and then break him down and stop him. So that's what we have in plan. So for me, I feel like I'm an all-rounder fighter now, and before, like, I wasn't the greatest on the inside, but now I've got Shane. He's one of the best trainers for the inside fighting. He's getting better now.
We wish you well against Gustavo Lemos on the 31st of the month at the Copper Box Arena here in London. Adam, very briefly and finally, is 2026 going to be the year, mate, that we see you fight Dalton Smith? I know you're probably asked it all the time, but do you think we're going to see it?
I've got a job to do on the 31st of Jan, but you know what? I would love to fight Dalton Smith by the end of the year.
Fantastic. Adam, thank you very much indeed. Adam Azim Dalton Smith, that would be something, wouldn't it, Simon?
It will be, but like I said to him, he wants to get a world title.
Yeah.
He can go and get if he wins this fight, he goes to number 2 in the IBF, which means he can potentially challenge Richards and Hitchens. I think Adam Azim can beat Richards and Hitchens, and then you get a British title fight, a fight between 2 British fighters for 2 world title belts.
Yeah.
That's more exciting, and also a better negotiation for Adam to be on an equal footing.
Adam, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I think I can speak for Simon. We're really thrilled about the number of listeners, the number of followers, the number of viewers this show has these days, and we mean that. We're delighted. I hope one listener is tuned in this lunchtime. One in particular goes by the name, Simon, of Nate, and I think you've seen the message that I have seen.
I have, yeah.
Nate, you got in touch with us. You were telling us that when Simon was at Crystal Palace, he was such a breath of fresh air as an owner. You're absolutely right about that. You were talking about me when I had my yellow tie on Sky Sports at Transfer Deadline Day, and you tell us how much this show means to you because you have a major challenge ahead of you on a daily basis at this time. You're 39. You're currently, as you say, being pumped with chemotherapy on a regular basis, and that this show quite literally has given you something to look forward to on a daily basis. So we're delighted about that, Nate, and we're with you every day, mate.
Come and see us when you're better.
Come and see us when you're better. That's a great shout, Simon. Get in touch with us again. Pop it out on Twitter. We'll watch for it.